go.
All right, I call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for July 21st, 2026. Please all stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's up, Roy? How you doing?
Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Supervisor File.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown.
Here.
Trustee Hayward.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Namamathu. Here. And Trustee Tedder.
Here.
We have a form.
Great. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. Board of Public Announcements. So during this time, individuals will be allowed to come up to the microphone here in the middle. You will state your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes. I will give you 1 minute notice, so when you get to the 4 minutes, I'll give you a minute so you can kind of wrap things up. At this point, we're going to go through the board and public announcements first. Does anybody have a public announcement? Please come up.
So Joanne Coons, 9740 Reese Road. We want to just tell you about Hometown Heroes Project that the America 250 Committee is doing along with the DAR of Clarkston Sashbaugh Plains chapter. We are working with our Clarkston and we are putting these flags on the poles. They will be self-paid for by the families of veterans who are deceased but have lived here, veterans that are alive and live here, or have lived here, depending. And turn around, show the other people. You know, we have a town, Clarkston, but we don't have. I mean, maybe we have light poles along here, but we are putting them in Clarkston, and you will be seeing those. They will be up in late September. Families will be purchasing them. There's 36, there will be 36 of them because it goes both ways on a light pole. There's only 18 light poles, 36. And we just want you to know about it. They are for veterans. They will be there from mid-September to Veterans Day.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Hey. Excuse me one second. Juliet, did you want to say anything about if they want to get a hold of you, contact you? Is there any reason why they may want to do that?
Watch the Clarkston News.
Okay.
Because that will be where it's going to be. And I will say, I can only speak for Lapeer. I can't speak for Ortonville. They sold out in a day.
No? Wow. Okay.
Good evening, Pat Kittle, 4647 Oakhurst Ridge Road. Having attended the Independence Fest at Clinton Wood Park, I would like to congratulate the board and specifically call out Lisa Christensen and all of her people and the many volunteers. It was a phenomenal event. The Veterans Ceremony was world-class, and I can honestly say I'm proud to say I live in Independence Township. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Announcements, okay? Yes?
Hi, John Elkey, Independence Television Station Manager. I just wanted to give a public announcement real quick about our cable broadcast. We have had some interruptions due to the construction at Clarkston High School. I just wanted to let the public know that we are aware of the issues that have been going on due to the limited activity that we have to the building. It took us a little time to kind of fix those issues, but we are back up and running on cable. So hopefully you can see and hear me all clearly and everything like that on cable. So just wanted to let the public know that we were aware of those issues. They were due to the construction going on at the building, so but just for public information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Any announcements online? No? Okay, I'll bring it up to the board. Does anybody on the board have any announcements? Trustee Tedder?
Thank you. As much as an explanation for my absence last month, but also perhaps a public service announcement to many who like myself, think they're somewhat immortal. The morning of that last meeting, June 23rd, I was feeling some chest pains and checked myself into our local ER and discovered I was having some heart trauma. 3 days later, I got fixed up, did what they needed to do, and put me back on the street. So just, cordial encouragement to all of you to not to ignore your body's signals. I'm fortunate that I did not. And so the board has to deal with me for hopefully many years to come.
Happy to do that. Anybody else have? Clerk Newbeck.
Early voting starts this Saturday, July 25th at Bay Court Park. The hours are 8:30 to 4:30, except for Thursday evening. It will be from noon until 8. That will conclude on August 2nd, which will be the Sunday before the election, and then right around the corner is Election Day, voting for our primary on August 2nd. So we made some changes to precincts a few years ago, so I want to make sure before you head out to vote, if you're voting on Election Day, make sure you know what your precinct is. We did send out new voter ID cards a couple years ago, but there's been some time that has passed. We're going to have some notice in the Clarkston News this week and the following week, so watch that. There will be a QR code. There'll be a website that you can check on the state level to verify where you're going to vote. And I think even just as important as it is to vote is to remind everyone not to split your ticket. August primaries, you have to stay within your party. So whichever party you choose, Republican or Democrat, make sure that you stay within those lines on the front as well as the back of the ballot. Should you have crossed your party, those selections that you make will not count, but you can get a new ballot if you spoil it on Election Day. You can receive a new ballot and correct it should you wish. So that's all I have. Yeah, well, there are some candidates as well. I'm sure you've heard on the news that some candidates have dropped out recently. If you have already submitted your absentee ballot and have turned it in, you can come in through this Thursday. We close at 5:30 and fill out a form to spoil that ballot you have turned in already, and we can give you a new one. Otherwise, if you do still have your ballot, bring that in if you wish, if you haven't voted it, and we can get you a new one and make that correction should you want to. But on Election Day, the workers will not be giving you information on any candidates that have dropped, but you should come, with that knowledge when you get ready, because candidates that have dropped are still on the ballot. So that might cause some confusion, but they dropped out after the ballots were printed. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yep. Any other announcements from the board? Trustee Hayward?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that Clerk Newbeck had brought up, I think our last meeting regarding the alert system that we have for the township, which you can sign up. It was real simple. I signed up for it. Went right to the first page. As soon as you go to the township website, it's right there. It takes less than a minute to do. Do it on your phone, or you can do it on your home computer. It was very easy to do, and I recommend that you do it. It's an opportunity. If there's anything going on that's of great importance in the township, emergencies and things like that, you'll get alerted on your phone.
Okay, great. There you go. Okay. Then we're going to switch now to public comments. Public comments will follow the same process it did for announcements and comments. You will come up to the front here, give your name, your address. Please understand that public comments are for anything that is not on the agenda tonight. You will have an opportunity to come up for public comments on the actual individual item when that item comes before the board. So and you get 5 minutes, and again, I'll give you the notice when you're down to your last minute. Are there any public comments? Okay. And come on up, but at the same token, please recognize the fact that we do not interact back and forth with you on questions or answer questions or anything else. It's just your chance to speak.
Perfect.
Please.
My name is Sonia Boston. I live at 9435 English Oak Drive. I usually watch these meetings on YouTube so I can rewind, replay, listen at another time. When I learned there was going to be a special meeting on the 7th that wasn't going to be broadcast live, I decided that I would come to that meeting, and I recorded this meeting on my phone so I could review it later. There was nothing secret about my recording. Later, I learned that Trustee Morocco claimed on Facebook that a stranger attended, recorded, and scurried out immediately at the end. I left at the same time as another person, and neither the lady nor that was before me or I scurried anywhere. He also claimed in a reply to a Facebook post that I had been sent by the supervisor to record this meeting. That statement was completely false. I was not sent by the supervisor. In fact, I have never met, spoken with, or communicated in any way with the supervisor or any of you ever. What concerns me most is that an elected official publicly accused a resident of acting on someone else's behalf without any evidence, which I believe is just more deception by Trustee Morocco to deflect attention from his behavior. I also find it ironic that Trustee Morocco has publicly expressed concern about being accused of things without proof, yet he made an accusation about me without any proof whatsoever. I believe public officials should hold themselves to the same standard they expect from others. Whether anybody agrees with me or not, that's besides the point. Public officials have a responsibility to speak truthfully and verify facts before making public accusations about any resident. Therefore, I respectfully ask Trustee Morocco to publicly correct the record and acknowledge that I was not sent by the supervisor. If he cannot provide evidence to support his claim, I believe a public apology is appropriate and a responsible course of action. Taking that step would demonstrate accountability and help restore confidence that facts, not assumptions, guide the conduct of our elected official. Thank you.
Anybody else? I thought I saw somebody stand up. Yep, please come up.
How's it going? I'm Casey Yosen, Clarkston resident for the last 11 years. I'm here to educate everybody on what flock cameras really are.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, here, sorry. I'm here to educate everybody on what flock cameras really are. The police and flock will tell you that it's all about safety, and what if your kid was abducted? To which I would say, if the police really cared about missing kids, they would have arrested even one single Epstein client by now.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I just got to know, you didn't give your address.
Oh, 6144 Foxfire Circle.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. They would have, all right. They have had that info for years and not one single person has been arrested. Flock cameras are the physical embodiment of a Fourth Amendment violation. So much so that numerous city and township boards across the country have been sued for exactly that, and many boards have had their members recalled and voted out. Flock and the police have done an amazing job propagandizing people with their, well, if you have nothing to hide argument. But we seal envelopes not because the letter contains a conspiracy, but because the contents belong exclusively to the sender and receiver. Privacy isn't about hiding a crime. It's about deciding who gets access to your life. It's a boundary of power, not a shield for guilt. The police love flock cameras because it lets them do away with due process completely. Typically, if the police want information about someone, they have to get a warrant. They have to have been a crime. But now, they can use flock system to look up anyone, anywhere, at any time, which is really called illegal search and seizure. I would like to remind the board that they are here to do what's best for the people of this city. And removing our rights or violating our rights is definitely not what's best for the people of this city. Recently, a police officer became a whistleblower against flock. He detailed how these cameras are not just capturing license plates, but they're capturing everything and being used for mass surveillance without a warrant. It is a very sophisticated AI system, and not only police, but flock employees are already abusing this system all over the country, with numerous instances of camera contracts being canceled because the data is being shared and or sold incorrectly over state borders or with other federal agencies without a warrant. People seem to have a short memory. 6 years ago, all of our all-knowing government locked the country down and took away people's rights under the guise of safety. Got many of the small businesses to go out of business, all while huge corporations stayed open with no problem. And convinced millions of people to take a completely untested bioweapon, which have since killed millions of people worldwide. These same people who pushed for social distancing, masking up, and the jab are now telling the world that we need flock cameras to stay safe. Ben Franklin famously said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And he was right. Our founders felt so strongly about this that they detailed our rights very, very clearly. This board has an opportunity right now to preserve these rights by voting to remove these cameras. And if they don't, it should be clear to everyone in this room and watching online that they have no interest in preserving our rights and should be removed by whatever means necessary. Our government is making its final push for total control over our lives right now. That's what this is. Next comes digital ID, social credit score, and carbon credits. You know what will happen when you use more than your allotted carbon credits? They'll shut your car off. That's why Congress just passed a bill that every new car made must have a remote kill switch in it. And thanks to flock cameras, they will know exactly where you are and exactly how many miles you drove that day. I know I'm painting a target on my back by speaking out against this, but I'm not going to look back years from now and say I did nothing to stop this. I'm going to do whatever's in my power legally to do. I hope you all will vote this out and be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, please come up.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Pedersen, 6716 Alman Lane. I've been watching a lot of board meetings throughout the state, and I don't mean to sound mean or anything like that, but I think after what I've been reading in the Clarkston News for the past year or more, I think a lot of the discontent and the disregard for each other, members of the board, it needs to stop. And we need to cool it down a bit. Just take a step back. I just want you to know that I know all of you are very, very passionate about our community. So am I. I've been here for 63 years. But your passions don't mean much without accountability. Accountability is everything. And I know all of you want to do your very best to run our community. But I really think that the rhetoric and the discontent amongst each other, everything from social media, the Clarkston News, etc., we need to calm it down. Everybody's watching. We're all on TV. Every person in this room cares about this community, just like each and every one of you do. But I think reaching across the aisle, shaking hands, agreeing to disagree, and not blowing it up all through social media or Clarkston News, etc., I think that needs to stop. And I know Township Board has policies. Township boards throughout the decades have always violated their own policies in some small way, shape, or form. And I get it. That's just how it's going to be. But it's how you violate those policies and everything like that that brings the attention to the public, because they feel that the rule's for thee and not for me. And like I said, let's just try and tone it down a little bit and be a little bit kinder, a little smoother with each other. Thank you.
Any other public comments from the audience? No? Okay, I'll move to online. Are there any public comments online about items that are not on the agenda? No? Okay, I will close public comments for the audience and bring it up to the board. Is there any public comments for the board? No? All right, I'll close public comments. Going to public hearings, there aren't any presentations. We have a new sewer disposal rate that is going to be discussed and presented by our DPW Director, David McKee. Maybe.
You see down there? There we go, okay. There we go. Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I would just like to say, Trustee Tedder, I'm glad you're good. I'm glad you're one of the good ones. You're all good ones, but you know what I mean on that. Personally, you're a good friend of mine, and I'm really glad that you took care of yourself, and I'm glad everybody had a good outcome. So that's super important, and
Thank you.
I know what you're talking about, so I appreciate that. So I'm glad you're here with us. So tonight is a presentation on the sewer rate disposal fees from Water Resource Commission and the Great Lakes Water Authority for the rate year 26 and 27. Their rate year starts July 1 of this year and it ends June 30th of next year.
It's a crazy, they've been doing that for 20-something odd years now. I don't know why they do that, but that's how they do that. So just for a little background for some of the board members, so this rate increase is strictly a pass-through. This is not one penny of this increase is coming to stay here at Independence, not a cent. This is strictly their increase, and it's a pass-through cost. The board approved in 2016 that any rate increases that come through the Great Lakes Water Authority and WRC for sewage disposal rates, it's an automatic pass-through, and this is, I'm obligated, I wanted to make sure, for transparency, that we always give a presentation on it. So there's nothing really to vote on this. It's a presentation and telling you what it is. If there was a point in time where we needed more money to keep our rate, or raise the rates to keep money here in Independence, that would be a board decision, and I would be prepared for that. Nothing of the sort is that. So this is just a breakdown of the charges for the rate increase that we have. We're going to do, excuse me, we're going to do a rate study this year to find out where we stand at financially on water and sewer. So then we'll know exactly where we're at. So I just wanted to make that, get that out front. So for these charges right here, so like I said, this rate increases from July 1st of this year through June 30th of next year. Our newly monthly disposal fee is $434,216 a month. So that's a lot. So in the breakdown of all that, so it's a little bit over 12% increase over last year. So the sewage disposal fee is $383,184. So it also complies to that until we get to the $434. There's a true-up cost. The true-up cost is based on percentage of usage. The Clinton-Oakland systems and the communities that belong to the Clinton-Oakland system, as you increase the usage, as you become more of a user, you take on more of the burden for bond debt, and that is, ours went up. So we have $13,865 per month on top of the $383. Then we have bond debt. We also have bond debt. So the bond debt is $37,166 a month. That's based on the projections of the bond debt that the WRC provided for us. So when we get right down to it, that's $434,216 a month that we have to cover. Next slide, I will have, so monthly times 12, it's just a little over $5.2 million a year. So the pass-through charges, cost per RU breakdown. So our total obligation for the year, and this is just a breakdown of how we come to this number, just $5.2 million. Total number of RUs is 12,978. Yearly cost per RU is 401 divided by 4 billing periods. That's $100.37. That's for the sewage disposal fee only. The Independence operating charge per RU, which you see on there, is $28. In the 11 years I've been here, going on 12, that has not changed. That's the number I just mentioned earlier when I first started, that if we wanted to increase revenue or to keep some money for us, for our infrastructure, for our costs that are going on, that's the number that would change. We haven't changed that in my whole entire time here. So we've been fortunate. Why? Growth. As this township's been going since I've been here, and it's development, new homes, commercial and whatnot. So as those users come online for our sewer, we kind of spread the pain out a little bit. So, and it's a good thing. But after our rate study will give us a better idea of what we need to do and if we have to raise that or not. With that being said, our new quarterly rate per RU is $128.37. So the $100.37 quarterly sewage disposal charge per RU is the same that the Village of Clarkson and Independence Township will pay. They pay the same amount. We charge them per their RUs $100.37 per RU based on their numbers as well. So I just wanted to break this out so it's even across the board. So the Village of Clarkson accounts for approximately 4.368% of all the sewage that comes out of Independence Township. When we're billed our monthly charge, we get, that includes their portion of the sewage disposals. So they have their annual costs and monthly costs. This presentation will be sent to the village so they can adjust their rates accordingly, or however they see fit, because we do not bill sewage for the monthly, or I should say the quarterly billing for sewage disposal. We do not bill them for that. They bill all sewage themselves. Then on the other side is Independence Township and the breakdown of those costs. So in comparison to last year, our current charge per RU is $118.94, and our new is $128. So this quarterly bills will increase by $9.43 per residential equivalent unit. So that's what a single-family home is going to see an increase of $9.43 every quarter. The new rate for Independence customers, it's effective July 1, like I said. Second quarter billing will capture the July 1 start date for the new rates. And that's about it, if there's any questions. I wish it was lower, but it is what it is.
Is there any questions from the board?
Yes.
Steve Tedder?
Yeah, just a quick question. The operating charge, Independence charges its residents. I'm assuming the village pays the township, and they would, if at their discretion, charge their own operating charge, or are we missing an obligation to impose an operating charge on the village?
So currently, we have a intergovernmental agreement with the village for maintenance services. We are in charge for maintenance only, just, routine maintenance. So they have, probably, it was 566 RUs approximately, and we charge them quarterly $40 for every one of those for that contract, for our services that we do. So we recoup there. That will also be reevaluated when we do we have to do a new intergovernmental agreement with them as well. So we want to get the rates, we know where the rates are and the bond debt, their portion and all that. So that's going to come, but we do capture that for our services.
Thank you.
Clerk Newbeck?
There's been some recent thought that the REUs for the village, there was some discrepancies. Has that been trued up? Do we know, or are we having another audit, or?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, they bill for their own sewage because we contact them, say, what are your RU counts this quarter? We do it every quarter because we send that in case there's a change. We kind of do an internal look around too to see what's going on. It's all been open with them. Matter of fact, I went and I won't name the business, but there was a newer business downtown that they were really undercharging when they opened up. The village didn't know it. We went in there and we assessed it for them, and we did recoup that, and we did help them with assessing what the RU number should be for that business. Because in 2018, the county changed their residential equivalent unit sheet on how you calculate RUs. Restaurants is per fixture now, where it used to be by square footage and if you sold alcohol. Now it's per fixture. How many toilets do you have, sinks, wash tubs, all of that. And then there's a multiplier on top of that, and that's what it is. So we did help them with that. We really don't have the authority or jurisdiction to go in there. Since we don't bill them for anything for sewer, or as far as their monthly charges. But we've had a pretty good relationship, and we volunteered our services a couple times to help
So to
them
your
out with
knowledge, they're current?
that. To our knowledge, right now, we are current. Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct.
But they're self-reporting, right?
They're self-reporting, and it's, I don't want to say it's a trust but verify thing, but we've been very open with them on there because they'll send us the sheet and we'll look through and we're like, well, that doesn't seem right, because they send us all the addresses and what they're currently charging for RUs. And that's where we found one. They were for a business downtown. We're like, I don't think that's correct, And we asked them about it, and they're like, oh, can you help us out? And we did. So we did. We corrected that right away.
Any other questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Carryover business postponed, there aren't any. Consent agenda, I typically read these very quickly. Request to approve the Board of Trustees regular session meeting minutes of January 23rd, 2026. Second, request to approve the June 30th and July 14th, 2026 check runs, including ACH, for $645,379.58 and for $1,479,499.18. Ratify the June 18th and July 2nd, 2026 payroll for $421,443.49 and for $453,733.52, and the May 2026 EFT ACH wire activity for $726,092.56. Third item is request to approve the budget amendment number 19, authorization of professional services for AK Architects by me, I guess. Fourth one is request to accept renewal of franchise agreements with DirecTV. 5 is request to approve Eagle Ridge State Phase 3 Stormwater Management Operations and Maintenance Agreement. And 6 is request to accept Brady Lodge rental with alcohol for Saturday, August 22nd, 2026. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull number 3, please, from that.
I wish we would have done that in the beginning, so we could have done that.
I was always told, like, you have to wait till you read it and then you do it.
Oh, is that? Okay.
make a motion to amend the consent agenda by pulling item number 3.
Support.
All those in favor? Actually, aye.
I'll make a, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
All in favor?
You said support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, yeah, aye. Okay. Item K, items removed from the consent agenda. So that one was removed. Do we address it here then? Yes. Okay, so request to, we're going to what do we discuss it then? Request to approve the budget amendment for number 19, authorization of professional services. Since you pulled it.
Yeah, I just
Mr.
had some
Rocco?
questions.
Yeah.
I do prefer if we do budget amendments as part of the regular agenda, just as a habit, but I'm not pulling it for that. I had some questions about why we're doing the HVAC assessment through AKA opposed to using multiple heating and cooling contractors. We did a study for the Brady Lodge, which we spent tens of thousands of dollars on with another firm that didn't generate any useful information. And I don't want to go down that road again. If AKA is a heating and cooling contractor and they're the contractor that does it, then I would have less problem with it, and maybe that is the case, but I don't see why we're paying a third party to assess the HVAC in the building when we could call 2 or 3 contractors and have them assess the situation, make recommendations, and put quotes on that. And then the second part with the township pre-design is if we are talking about building a senior center and then moving Parks and Rec over to there, it seems like a building assessment and design standard is premature at this point for the township hall itself, because that could all be completely changed, where I think the new senior center pre-design is something we definitely are, is a first phase, and the senior Parks and Rec spacing plan to move the Parks and Rec into the old senior center would also be a phase 1 plan, but there was talk, I was watching the CIA meeting the other night, that, as part of the CIA project, we could be expanding this building, we could be moving to a new building, we could be not putting a big addition out, we could be doing remodeling. So if to get to that answer, if that's what the pre-design is, I'm not sure if that's premature or not, but I definitely think that to pay a third party to bring in HVAC contractors, to me, I'm not in favor of doing that. I think that our building staff could handle acquiring that information without going through a third party of what we should do. Because if they're not the ones actually doing it, they're just doing that step for us. And that's the reason that I wanted to bring it out.
Okay, so let me address those. The ACH review, so AKA is doing the review, just like we did for Fire Station 2, to help us put together the numbers of what things are going to cost. The reevaluating the heating and cooling system here is a function of that, but that's not all they're doing. And when I say they, make no qualms about it, they are contracting that service out to a HVAC company. So they're not doing it, but they're facilitating it as they're looking at all the other different aspects of the building to get us to preliminary numbers of saying, okay, like we did with the fire station, we could sit there and talk about having a new fire station number 2, but without understanding some of the numbers and to get to that not to exceed, these were the steps that we had to go through. And that's the same process that we're going through for all the capital improvement projects, the Parks and Rec, the Senior Center, and the Town Hall. Okay, so to answer that part, it is being done by a licensed ACH HVAC company that's doing it. It's just being rolled in under part of their evaluation. It's just one piece of it. The and I may not have this exactly right, so correct me, on the Parks and Recs senior, which is, I'm assuming you mean over on Clintonwood, correct?
Well, I'm the new senior community center pre-design. I'm assuming it relates to the parcel, building a new senior center on the library property,
Well, there's two aspects to that.
and then moving our staff to the other senior center, see if that works. Did I interpret that?
Not exactly.
Okay.
So yes and no, though.
Okay.
So part of what we're looking at, the Parks and Rec Senior Center is going to, based on the project that trustee Tedder and director, supervisor Jennifer is working on, is kind of rolling all that into one facility. So when we talk about the Parks and Rec that's housed here, they're looking to be moved over to the new Parks and Rec Senior Center. The other thing that would happen is that the existing Parks and Rec Senior Center over on Clintonwood Park would then be moved over to the new senior center. And so there would therefore then be a space over there that would need to get redesigned. So there would be offices in both, so there's a redesign of both. So those are all kind of tied together. And the same thing with the building here. So there's a lot of codependencies here. And so, it's a little challenging to figure out exactly, which comes first, the chicken or the egg. So we was on a call today with AKA, and Jennifer was on there over at their office, and we were talking about the new senior center. Part of which was, there's some options that could come forth out of this. And so they're looking to put together a plan of having the different options available so we can understand from a costing standpoint. That's the exact same thing we're looking at the town hall at. So the town hall could be looking at and we kept it very high level in the sense of the fact that even the senior center, the new one, they started to try to get into designs of the interior of it and all that. And, Jennifer said, no, it doesn't really matter. We'll come up with that later. We just need to basically know the total square footage. The town hall is going under that same concept. There's the study that we did in the past, reevaluating that with each of the different department heads, asking how many square feet do they think they need. And then they're going to come back and say, okay, based on the needs aspect of this part of the study, you'll need X amount of square footage, so on and so forth. Then it becomes a function of, do we do the building here and rehab it, or do we build a new building? But regardless, we still need to know the department square footage and so forth. That's why the interior layout is something that is further down the road. The other aspect of it is with the heating and cooling side of things, is that we just need to know what we have. So that's all kind of tied in together. If we move into a new building, the question then becomes, do we go through and rehab the AC now, or do we leave it alone? Because if we go to rehab it into a single tenant, which is what we are right now, does that increase or decrease the value of the building? Because the building was really set up for multi-tenants, and so was the AC system. So they're just kind of going through and doing a reevaluation on that part of things to determine, where are we at right now, and then what are some of our options going forward. So it's all kind of bundled together a little bit like a spaghetti plate. And of course, things are going to change a little bit here and there. There's some constraints, possible constraints on the new senior center, but we need to move forward to be able to get some realistic numbers to understand the ballparks that we're playing in, so that come August, when the presentations get made, we're not talking abstract, we're talking, these are the ranges, just like we did with the fire. It's going to be 400,000 to be able to go through to this part of it, and then we believe we have a not to exceed of 9 million, and then decide if we need to back anything down or not. So it's all kind of roped together, and I know that they called it out that way, but it's all part of the total service that they're providing.
Okay, I just think the township hall's a little ahead of schedule on that part, but that's my opinion on it. That's why I rolled it out, to get some answers of what the plan was. You got a bunch of questions that way too.
Down this way. She was first. Clerk Newbeck.
Clarify a little bit more, because the prior needs study that the board approved in October of '23 with AKA, they did it in June of '24, which was a facility and programming study for civic center needs, as-built, programming, and master planning, and we spent $27,960. So for an additional, I know the HVAC assessment is in the 17.5, but what more? because it says Township Hall Facility Assessment and Space Planning, we pretty much did that. If we have as-built programming and master planning already done and paid for, what else is missing that we're gonna get out of a facility assessment? Like, what more are we paying for?
So I guess what they're going through and doing, and I should say guess, what they're going to go through and do is they're going to be reassessing that analysis to see if it's still current or not current. So the time and effort is going to be pretty close to the same amount to go through and do that. I don't believe the original assessment did take into consideration the HVAC system.
Oh, I don't know about that. but-
So that's kind of a new component there, and that was because with Treasurer Brown and Building Director Moran, that was something that they, this building has always suffered with and struggled with. If anybody comes by here regularly, they see the HVAC company out here all the time. So that was part of the things that they brought forward in their presentation about things that they see that needs to be done with this building. So there's those aspects of things that are in there. I believe was in the pack, wasn't it, Don?
Yeah, but I think it's, for $44,000, we've already got some space needs, I know that. They've got projected needs from each department when they came out, and the study's only 2 years old. I'm not disagreeing that we don't need to do something with Township Hall, and I know that's part of our CIP planning. I'm just questioning why now another $17,500 when we spent almost 30 grand just 2 years ago.
Well, you gotta remember too, when
That's
you
all.
talk, I'm sorry, when you say the 30 grand, you have to understand that there was not to look at, and based on the square footage of the senior center they're looking at now, it's 35,000.
No, it wasn't senior center, it was just
So
Town Hall.
you said 30,000, so 30,000 included some of the things that were being now part of, they're being separated. So that study
Okay.
was more inclusive, right? So,
Okay.
so that's why it's not really fair apples to apples cost comparison there. So again, it's to come back through, I mean, everything goes up, at the
I'm
end of
just
the day.
thinking they have a good foundation to build off of because it's not very old and it seemed fairly weighted. There's a lot of information already gathered is all I'm asking.
So
Why not?
it came back to, it came back with the fact that they have a lot more that they're looking at structurally from the building, and I did not see the old one. I saw the actual presentation as it related to the building, and I saw the square footages and those types of things. It may be a confirmation, I don't know.
Okay.
And they don't know, so that's why they're going back through that process again.
I just wanted some more clarification, that's all. Thank you.
Trustee Hebert.
So just to summarize, and correct me if I'm wrong, so basically this money needs to be spent, so we have a closer idea of all the presentations, what the real numbers are going to be. And
That
this
is
is what
correct.
needs to be done, instead of us just guessing.
Exactly right.
Essentially. Okay.
Exactly right. Yep.
Do you have a time frame on this?
Yes, 'cause they're a little stressed about it because I told them they had to have it to us for the senior center presentation is in the second month of, or the second board meeting in August. So they have to have it back to us in order to be in the packet by, I think it's the 17th or the 18th if you come back 7 days off of it. So they are going to have the architectural conceptual drawings like we saw for the fire station and AKA. So it'll be the combination to AKA, as you all probably remember, they're the ones who do a lot of the construction work and everything else. AKA is the architects, AUK is the construction. They're gonna have both of those numbers back for us to be able to give us that same progression of cost that we saw for Fire Station 2.
Did they break down the difference between the pre-design on Township Hall and the HVAC assessment?
I
I
don't,
can't bring myself to paying someone to give us a free bid on fixing the HVAC.
well, we're not looking at it we're looking at it to see if it's engineered properly, right? So I'm
Yeah,
not
but
sure.
what do they bring to the table that HVAC companies don't bring to the table?
They're bringing an HVAC company to the table. They're doing the project management aspect of it. I mean, that's part of what that fee goes towards. So it just falls kind of.
Can we actually maybe see if Chief Bechet might come up and he might be able to shed some light on that?
The process a little bit
Yeah.
more? Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So to clarify, there's a consultant that's going to come in on the HVAC system on behalf of AKA. He's not a contractor to put a new system in. He's providing them information as to what we have, and then the vision of if you remodel the township hall or expand it, whatever you decide to do, what kind of system is going to work best. So they're trying to understand what you have here now so they can provide all of you the exact information of what it's going to look like in the end. So it's not bringing in an HVAC company to give us that information. This is a consultant, because different things will happen. Because right now the furnaces are downstairs here, but if you go to a single use, like you're using the building now, they would go on the roof. So the consulting engineer is just coming here to look at all that and provide that data back to AKA so they can provide good numbers and projections for what a remodel would be. So it's more than, right now you're minimizing it just to that, but it's not. It's more than that. It's providing the correct data for the architects to provide a solid design number for the vision of Town Hall. So I guess it's more than that. I just want to bring that to the table.
Appreciate that, Chief, thank
So
you.
it's they're a part of AKA. It's just another consultant.
I got no problem with what AKA does. I mean, for us, I think they do a great job, and they're integral in getting us to the finish line on these huge infrastructure projects, you know, or the CIP, and I'm all good with that. All I'm saying is that, you know, publicly, we've talked about remodeling, and I'm not talking to you, Chief, you're I'm talking to the board. You know, remodeling, expanding, and replacing the building. And I don't see how the HVAC is gonna have any bearing on any of that. Okay, the big decisions are gonna be, can we operate under a building this size? If not, can an addition be adequately fitted to the building? And if not, are we going to move into a new facility? Those are my questions. I don't care about the HVAC as far as the CIP project. That to me is like, do we need new windows? What I'm talking about is, I don't want to pay someone to assess their building until we know that, because once we make a decision on the investment in the building, all of that's going to be encompassed into getting the design to the finish line. And I don't want to spend the money up front wasted on that if we haven't decided what we're doing for the building. If this board decides that we can operate out of this building with a redesign, then yes, that makes sense. But I don't feel like we've gotten to that point, and the heating and cooling, to me, is irrelevant. If the design, the pre-design makes sense, if we can't fit in this building. Now that got rid of phase one, remodel the interior of the building. If it needs 15,000 square feet, then it goes into an addition. If it needs 30,000, then we only have one level up here, you know, and so then it's not feasible to do it on this property. So I just can't get past wasting money on a mechanical issue when we haven't got through the proposed design issue. And that's
So
why I got a sticking point on it, probably as a builder, you know, because it doesn't really matter what the HV units are if we're gutting this building and redoing it. It's a moot point at this point, to me.
Well, it's really not. It's a part of the whole process.
It is,
to
but
get your
not-
numbers.
not knowing
because
where we're going, though.
It's a whole structural change to the roof of this building, which will be very costly. So they're trying to figure that out. Again, I think they're trying to provide all of you the best numbers so you can make a good decision on a remodel. So that's my take.
I mean, and I think that to add on to that is that whether we remodel or expand, they're going to give us those options and those costs. So I don't even know how we would evaluate, you know what, let me rephrase it. Me as more of a finance person doesn't know how we'd be able to evaluate things if we don't understand the costs associated with the different options. And that's what this is doing. This is going through and giving us the cost structure for the different options.
Right, but it's one piece of 50 pieces.
That's not just 17.
That would need to be done. The HVAC is one piece of, we would need to know the price of the structure, the brick, the windows, HVAC is just one part of 50 parts. It's just, I don't know why, I understand we have a problem with the HVAC, I just don't understand why we're not just dealing with it as a failed system in need of repair, opposed to why it's so integral to the design of a future design of the building. So I made my point, so I'll leave it at that.
I would just say that the cost of redoing the whole AC might determine how we go forward. we don't know what the cost is, like you said. I mean, I know you're a builder, but if you gotta redo this whole roof, I don't know what it's gonna take to put everything on one system if we're on multiple systems in here, and I don't know what that cost would be.
Okay.
But is it possible that we find out what that cost is, it's gonna make a decision on how we determine to go forward with this whole entire building?
Okay, I would,
Okay.
That's just my thought.
I would say that would not be the deciding factor, but if you guys think that it is, then,
Okay.
then vote for it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just real brief, I do appreciate pulling this from the consent agenda, because I do think in the spirit of that this is a budget amendment, it was great conversation, more clarification on what we're looking at here. You know, are we maybe a little ahead of the game, perhaps? I do appreciate Chief Pache stepping in as our building consultant tonight and providing some additional context. That was helpful.
Okay. Treasurer Brown.
There may be some value here, because if we end up knowing exactly what we'll need, if we go in that direction, instead of having HVAC contractors come out and say, tell us what you think we should do, we're gonna be able to say, quote this, and here's exactly what we want. So then you're gonna have multiple contractors bidding on what, we've essentially already decided, this is what will work if we do it. So you might take something out of what's needed in the future by doing that. That's all.
All right, I will make a motion to accept the request to approve the budget amendment number 19 for the authorization of the professional services for AK Architect. Can I get a second?
I'd like to amend the motion to authorize the township supervisor to execute the professional services agreement with AKA Architects for planning services related to Township Hall, new senior community center and existing senior center, parks and recreation facility, planning initiatives in an amount not to exceed $34,000, subject to final review and approval as to form by the township attorney.
That's a weird little note there.
I'll second.
Is it a roll call, or is it just a simple? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried. All right, regular business. We'll be going through and we'll give the audience an opportunity to come up and address each one of these items individually as we get to them. The same process exists. You'll come up, give your name, your address. You will be limited to 5 minutes. Please understand that the board does not interact with you. This is just your chance to make some, more or less, a statement. So as we go through these different ones, you'll be able to come up. You can come up once for each one if you so desire. First one is to go through to request an amendment to approve the integral government agreement between the city of the village of Clarkson and Independence Township. This one is brought forth by our director of the ITV, and that's John Elke, and this is to deal with the PEG fees. So, John, yep, there you are.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Just here today requesting to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between Independence Television and the City of the Village of Clarkson. Currently, we do record their city council meetings monthly. This is just to kind of finalize the agreement that we have with them, to kind of put pen to paper and make sure that everything's on the up and up. Currently, they would be passing along any PEG fees, public education or government fees that they collect through their cable providers or who they have franchise agreements with, to us for these services. This contract has been reviewed by the supervisor. It was accepted by the City of the Village in their June meeting and has been reviewed by our lawyers. So at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding this contract, but just looking to continue to be a good neighbor to those in the City of the Village of Clarkson and use the gifts and skills that we have to help people out.
We'll go to the audience first. Any comments from the audience? No? Online, are there any comments online? No? Okay, close public comments on it. Bring it up to the board. Does the board have any questions on it? Trustee Morocco.
John,
Yes.
I didn't pull, I think the contract was in the consent agenda. I didn't want to pull it because I knew this was on the agenda. I just had a basic question.
Sure.
What happens to the data? So in the contract we have with them, you only guarantee that you're going to hold 1 year's worth of video for them of their meetings. So my
Yeah.
question is, because our minutes now have become just a summary of motions and not really don't adequately describe anything that happens in a meeting, how do they address that storage issue, and what is our storage? How are we storing ours into perpetuity or, forever because now that's all we have to go on, because the paper copies have dissipated.
Yeah, from a storage standpoint, we kind of act as like a three-system backup system. That's kind of what that's referring to from a year. So like the video on demand, online, that's going to last and fill up as much as we can. This is really just referring to the archive or the hard copy backup that we would keep. And that's just strictly for hard drive space at this time. Looking at all the meetings that we do record and everything like that, we do like to keep some, but we're passing them along to them to archive for their purposes. So we'll hold on to them for a year on our end, and then it'd be up to the city of the village to archive them, archive the videos that we send them from their standpoint.
So you do provide them at the end of the year, all the year's information that's been recorded?
All the meetings we pass along to them for them to archive.
And
yes.
where does ours get stored?
Ours are stored in the same spot. We have three different based storage, entities that we do, and that's just strictly for backup. We have one that's a hard drive on site. We have a cloud-based system, and then we also have all of our online viewing options. So from the archive standpoint, and you can also find it on the Documents on Demand section of our website. So when you're looking at agendas and everything, there is a special tab there that says meeting videos, and you can scroll down and look at all the meeting videos from that standpoint. So not only are we keeping a hard copy, but we wanted to keep a cloud-based copy just in case anything happened to a physical standpoint to any of our devices, that we would be covered in that situation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? No, that was just a flick? Okay.
No.
All right, can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of the Village of Clarkston and Independence Television as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Good seeing everybody.
Next item on the regular business is a request to accept Sashwell Plains Parks Master Planning Proposal for the DUL Landscape Architect. Action is not to approve of construction. It establishes a professional master plan that will guide future grant opportunities, capital planning, long-term investment decisions. The board's responsibility is to determine whether the investing is planning today to better position the township for future improvements. After the motion, okay, so that's that. And up here to address this in detail is going to be our Parks and Recs Director, Lisa Christensen.
Good evening, everyone. So as the supervisor stated, we'd like to engage in some master planning for Sashwell Plains Park. And this all came about earlier this year. I had the opportunity to apply for a grant through a national nonprofit called Unlimited Play for the replacement of the playground. We knew the playground replacement was going to be coming up within the next 2 to 3 years. And we saw this grant opportunity, so we thought we'd give it a shot. I'm happy to announce we did receive the grant. So we received $100,000 toward the replacement of the play structure at Sashwell Plains. That will not cover the full cost, but it is enough to get us started and for the board to determine how they'd like to move forward with that. But responsibly, I thought it was best for us to pump the brakes a little bit and do a master plan to look at the park as a whole. Sashwell Plains comes up a lot at the board level of what are we doing with that space? What is the park? So this is an opportunity for us to re-envision the space before we jump into the playground project. But the company, Unlimited Play, loves that we're doing this. They're willing to work with us along the way and allow us this time so we don't have to jump right into just the playground replacement. We can phase it out and work through an entire new park plan that will complement the playground. And this was already kind of moving forward before we started the capital improvement projects and reviewing each park space and as we gear up for our August presentation. So the timing of this is aligning nicely. But I'd like to move forward with the proposal from Dual Landscape for $12,000 to engage in the master planning process for Sashwell Plains Park.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, or not questions, or any comments from the audience on this? No? Any comments from online? No? Okay, I'll close public comments. Any questions from the board? Trustee Morocco, Ted, or whichever one, you both were pretty quick.
No, I said enough. You go ahead.
Thank you. No, this looks great. Congratulations on the grant. That's exciting. And I know just a few years ago, there was a lot of conversation about this park being among the most in need of repair and investment. So I think this is a well-placed effort in terms of dollars and resources.
Agree, thank you.
Trustee Morocco.
I just wanted to comment on the grant. I read it. I thought it was great. I think you guys did a great job on writing it.
Thank you.
So.
They've been a wonderful company to work with. It's she started the nonprofit in honor of her son, who has special needs. It's grown across the country. So the focus is inclusive play. So that will be a theme that we'll revisit as we go through this process. But they've been very engaging. They love our community. We've had on-site meetings at the park. They're really ready to jump in with us for this project. It's great.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Clerk Newbeck.
I too just want to congratulate you on the grant, but I think it's an exciting adventure for us to expand on that park. You're right, it's been a park that really hasn't been on the map for us, and there's a lot of potential. And I think to add that with the therapeutic recreation that's already there, we already have a flavor of that park, and this just kind of brings it all home. So looking forward to what we've got to bring in the future. Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
No one else? Will American in Bloom be involved at all with the master plan on this? The design of it?
Not directly. We did visit the park as part of our community tour yesterday. They had a lot of comments, and I expect a lot of feedback in that zone that we will then be able to take and work with Dual on. We'll be able to take their feedback, their recommendations, and try to work them into the master plan in terms of landscape and beautification and layout as a whole.
So I know that from the meeting yesterday at American Bloom, they're going to give their presentation back to us in September.
Correct.
When do you see starting with the Dahl landscape architect?
They're ready. With the cancellation of the last meeting, they were ready to go. They provided this proposal before we knew we had the grant. We kind of were trying to wait to see if we could get that final confirmation that we were for sure a finalist for the grant. So they're ready to roll whenever we're ready to engage. They're following our timeline.
And will they then be receptive to updating their recommendations later once we get it back from American Bloom?
Yes, I'll be once we approve this tonight, I'll go back with them. I'll fill them in on America in Bloom. We hadn't had that conversation yet, and we can go from there.
Do you want to explain real quickly what American in Bloom is? Because
Sure.
some of the people up here may not know.
Sure. So America in Bloom is another national nonprofit that works directly with communities. So you apply to be a part of the America in Bloom program. They send 2 advisors to your community, and they evaluate you basically in about 8 different areas. So community vitality, overall impression, community involvement, environmental initiatives, landscape, floral design, and urban forestry. I think those are the categories. So I've spent the last 2 days with our advisors who came to us from the Washington, D.C. area, giving them a tour of the entire township. And it's not just the parks, it's the overall community of every piece. The library, we visited the Clarkston Family Farm, we of course visited all the parks. And then they score us on a metric system that they have, and give us about 30 to 40 recommendations how to make your community more vibrant, more connected, more beautiful. And then we can choose what we want to do with those recommendations overall.
So just FYI for the board, we had representatives from the CIA, the DDA, the Parks and Rec,
Open space.
And
Parks, the garden.
Parks, the garden, yeah,
Mhm.
and the chamber, right?
Yes.
Because it does
Yep.
it touches everything.
Yes. and they give us our final report not until late September. We did debrief today at the end of our time today. We scored very highly, as I would assume we would, in community involvement, community vitality, overall impression, and then we score a little lower initially in things like environmental initiative, urban forestry, as those things just, aren't woven in as naturally as some of the others. But I'm looking forward to the recommendations that they send back so we can meet those criteria.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the proposal from Dull Landscape Architecture, or Dual, of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan for the Sashabaw Plains Park Site Analysis and Schematic Master Planning Services in the amount not to exceed $12,000, and authorize the Township Supervisor to sign the proposal.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is this item concerns replacement of a deterioration of pavement at Fire Station 1. The proposal before us evaluates cost, durability, public safety, and stewardship of the township asset. The board's responsibility to determine whether the proposed budget amount and contract represents the best long-term value for taxpayers. And to address this is Chief Boucher.
I want to show you a PowerPoint. This is just the PowerPoint, it might be easier to see those pictures. So we have a roadway on the east side of Fire Station 1 that separates our building from the building next door. It's a two-story commercial building, multi-tenant building that they have parking on their side. We have parking on our side, and we share that roadway. The fire department owns half into the roadway, and the other building owns half. So it's asphalt. The asphalt has deteriorated to the point where we need to replace it. And we want to replace it with concrete versus asphalt at this point. And I'm going to go through this and kind of show you what I'm dealing with, maybe. So if you were looking from the north down Citation Drive straight up, the fire station would be to the left, and that other two-story commercial buildings to the right. Again, the roadway in question starts at the curbing, where you can see where we just recently, yet again, added asphalt patching to kind of mitigate the situation until we did a complete repair. But again, we own half that roadway all the way back. If you look back where those two trees are, the two big trees on either side of the roadway, there's a gate there that leads into the church behind us. So that whole roadway is what we're looking to replace. Just some more pictures, you sort of see the deterioration. We've used Dave McKee, the DPW, numerous times to try to cold patch all the potholes in this lot. It doesn't last, and again, that's why we're at the point where we want to do a complete tear out, redo the base, and go with concrete rather than asphalt for the longevity of concrete and the lack of maintenance that you have to do with concrete versus asphalt. Kind of see some of the curbing there, it was all destroyed. Every winter we go through, it gets worse with the plowing, ripping stuff up too, because it's already torn apart. So that kind of gives you a visual of what we're dealing with. We priced it out with Italia Construction. That's the township's approved concrete vendor that the board approved last July. So they've given us the price of $33,000 to do our portion. And the building next door, their portion's $26,000 because they have less square footage than we have. The building owner next door is willing to do this project together with us. So I'm here tonight asking for approval to move forward with it.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? No? Any comments online? No? Okay, I'll close public comments. Bring it up to the board. Kirk Newbeck.
Will this encompass their parking spots as well as ours, or just the drive?
Just the driveway, the
And-
roadway. That's what I
Okay.
put it.
And what is the condition of the substation's parking lot? Would it be?
It's fine. It's not ready for tear out or repair. We kind of kept up with that. That got replaced a few years ago, so we've been maintaining that, so that's fine. It's just the roadway that's
That is,
bad.
that's asphalt as well, correct?
Pardon me?
That's asphalt as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
all right, thank you.
Any other, trustee Morocco?
Chief, what part is the asphalt, and what part's concrete exactly? How are the other tenant, the other partner in this
Mhm.
doing theirs in all asphalt? Or is the asphalt down the middle and it's, how does the split work?
So the owner of the other building, she wants to do concrete too. So that roadway, half is hers, half is ours. So we're just doing the whole thing in concrete.
So what's this paving, the all phases, what is it?
Because originally I had gotten a quote, just, my starting point was replacing asphalt. What's that cost? So I got that quote. Then I got with Italia, that's the contractor for the township.
Yeah.
To price out the concrete and took a look at the differences.
Okay, so that was just for us to have as a reference, the all phases?
Yeah, it was more for me to have a reference as a starting point to see what the difference in cost between asphalt and concrete was at this point, so.
Right, I
And
figured
it
it'd
was
be
so minimal,
comparable.
the difference.
I
It
just
was-
wanted to make sure that all phases wasn't part of what we're approved, what they're doing
No,
at all.
No,
Okay.
no, that was just to give
Because I
you,
had
that
called
was
the
to give
chief
you a
about
reference
this
point.
because the all phases bid was an incomplete bid. It didn't break down what the footages were, anything like that.
Right.
That's when I had called him to find that out. I just
Yeah.
wanted clarification on
Yeah.
that, so,
No
thank
problem.
you.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Tedder?
Yeah, and also, and on the asphalt bid, there seemed to be some contingencies, so even though it was a few grand less, it could have hypothetically crept up, and from way I've seen you presented this is 33,000 out the door.
Correct.
So is that our half is 33,000, or is that cost to be shared?
That's our portion,
So this is a
33,000.
$66,000 project split between us and the neighbor.
The neighbors
neighboring
is
property.
26,000. Yep,
Okay, I got it.
yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? Nope, can I get a motion?
I have
Oh,
one more question, I'm
Nancy.
sorry.
Clerk Newbeck.
No reason for contingency, or did we figure that in?
That's figured in according to Italia,
Okay,
so.
thank you. I'll make a motion to accept the quote from Italia Construction, Inc., located at 57-151 Deer Creek Court, Washington, Michigan, 48094, for the replacement of a concrete driveway / roadway and curbing at Fire Stations Number 1, 6500 Citation Drive, in an amount not to exceed $33,000, and approve the Fire Department CIP Budget Amendment Number 18 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda for 4, this is a discussion on limited access for trustees to the township facilities. Just want to kind of the point of information. This item is not about whether trustees may perform their official duties. They may. The issue is whether an individual trustee should have unrestricted, unscheduled access to secured, non-public employee work areas without a board-adopted policy as defined operational needs and appropriate legal and security safeguards. Building access is an administrative and security function as directly affects employee safety, confidential records, election operations, information systems, public access, and the township liability. Discussion tonight must remain focused on the legal authority, operation, necessity, consistent standard, and the long-term interests of the township. It will not become a debate over personalities, motives, or isolated incidents. Any access issue policy should be prospective, clearly written, legal, and I think we have that, and I believe this is being brought forward by trustee Tedder. So if you would like to go through and explain your motion, maybe here.
All right, just want to make sure you got your disclaimer in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I brought this up against my better judgment. I did watch the board meeting from my perch in the hospital bed, and so it's a very spirited discussion, and obviously wasn't there to be a part of it. I believe this all started from a memorandum that was never shared, from about a year ago, that was never shared with the trustees. And so and then with a rather abrupt notice, swipe card privileges were rescinded for the trustees. As I've established many times that we are co-equal board members, all with the trust of the residents until they deem otherwise, and should arguably have the same access as the other elected officials. And so I will also add that should it be the will of the board to establish rules of decorum, I'd be the first to sign up and offer some suggestions, because I believe that there's a lot of directions we could go on that front. And so, but if and until we have a policy dictating conduct, which again I'm supportive of, and if and until a elected official provides a reason for losing badge privileges, then those should be retained. It was quite embarrassing before I knew even that this had happened. I went and just swiped through the side door when I came up the stairs and couldn't even access my mailbox, which used to be for years just a common understanding that a trustee could swipe in, access their mailbox, go visit with a supervisor, visit with the clerk or whomever. And so that's problematic for me, that this is without really any discussion was just done. And so find that problematic. I also, and I'm happy to tender an addition to this, what I propose as a motion is, I also troubled that the other full-time elected officials no longer have discretion as to when their employees gain access to this building as well. And I think it's already noticeably inhibited performance and functions of job duties within there. And I'm not going to speak for the other full-time, but just as, again, an observer from the outside looking in, I find it problematic that the trustees, or excuse me, the trustees certainly, but the treasurer and the clerk, who have direct supervision over their employees, don't have the discretion as to what extent their staff have access to this building at all. So those are my concerns, those are my thoughts. I welcome additional board comments.
Okay. I'll bring it out to the public. Does the public have any comments? Yep, okay.
Sam Harris, 4391 Forest Avenue. As a trustee myself in Waterford, I do find that troubling that your card access would be limited. Your elected officials, you know, the people put their trust in you, and the treasurer, the clerk, the supervisor, and all the trustees. And I agree with you. You know, I didn't know this was on the agenda, but feel strongly about it. There's a certain circumstance in Waterford that occurred, and it was, like you said, it's sort of it's a little infuriating actually, and embarrassing. You go to use your access, you're trusted, you're elected, and then without warning, your access is revoked. So I just want to say I agree that it should not be limited.
Is anybody else? No? Okay. Anybody online? Okay, I'll close public comments, bring it up to the board. Does anybody on the board have any?
I have one question. Do elected officials at the state and local government get to just pop into any place in those buildings that they want to?
Yes, the answer is yes. 24/7, 365. I had the privilege, I go to the Capitol, I can go to the House office building. The answer is yes. I'll also add the other embarrassing thing, again, as an elected official who has the trust of those that elected me, I couldn't get in with a previously established appointment with the clerk. I was down here doing the parks, I actually was a senior center subcommittee. And I texted her, said, I'm wrapping up my meeting, do you have a few minutes? And she said yes, so I went up. Of course, the card didn't work. I had to knock on the door and then be asked, what is the nature of my business? Who am I here to see? As an elected official, and I don't blame the individual, because I know that as a directive. I do not blame the individual, but how humiliating it is that someone that has worked hard to gain a seat here at this table is being asked by staff what the nature of my business is, when I've given absolutely zero cause or zero reason to be treated that way. So that is another reason why I find it absurd that I have to ask permission to get into the building for which I was elected to be a watchdog over. So there's that piece too.
Okay. I have a question for you. Could you go through and explain to me what you mean by sufficient access?
Same access, whatever you deem sufficient access for clerk, supervisor, and treasurer.
So the clerk has access to things I don't. I have access to things the clerk doesn't have because of the nature of our function here. We are not the same, by the way. Okay? I wear really kind of 4 distinctive hats. One of which is, obviously I'm a politician just like everybody else here, right? Anything we say or do can be construed as campaigning, whatever. The second thing here is that I am also the individual that is the CEO, Chief Administrative Officer of the township. You're not. Statutorily, I'm responsible for the health, welfare, and safety of the employees. To some extent, as a trustee, you are as well. Okay? But then there's also the building from a security standpoint. You know, that falls under statutorily my domain, not the board's. The board can act and function collectively to change it, for sure, but you cannot minimize my statutory rights. We live in a different time. I did not know about the incident that you just explained. And I don't necessarily think we have a standard policy on that, as you seem to imply. Like, I've not sat down and went around and said, hey, you know, this, don't let anybody in. I don't even know, truthfully, who would even ask that. But that aside, my job, and we live in a different time, is to make sure that the health, safety, and welfare of the things are. The other thing that I want to point as correction, as from an information, you have access to the building. What your restriction is on the access to the employees' private work areas. That's what was restricted. The doors, the main doors to this building, you have access to. If it's a function of the time, from this time to that time, which I believe, I don't see Elke in here, or not Elke, but Ken, I believe it's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at night. If that time frame is too short, fine, right? We can change it. There's no problem there. If you're gonna say that you want to have 24/7 carte blanche to go through the office and everything else, that's not your job. That's not your function as a trustee. Your function is oversight, not to go through and to interact directly with the employees. That's not part of your thing. There is no statutory right to go and directly talk to the employees. But again, I can go back that the clerk has things that I can't go into. So by the nature of our jobs individually, there are restrictions. This just happens to be one of them. We're not preventing you from doing your job. We're not preventing you from doing the oversight. We're not doing any of that. We're just making sure that the employees are taken care of and are safe. Now, do I believe any one of you is going to do something radical and crazy? No, I don't. But at the same token, I can't work on the premise and do things based on the fact that I believe you're not going to. That's not how you protect them. You believe and take care of things basically in the worst case scenario. Trustee Morocco.
I think that's absurd, what you just said, that your job is to protect the employees from the trustees. That, to me, seems like a crazy statement.
given the fact that you just got censured for doing exactly this?
I got censured for going in and talking to an employee and finding out that some things were not going the way they were supposed to be going, but that's a whole different story. The other day, I came to see Carrie. I have a statutory right to go see the clerk without knocking on the door and having Paul's staff get up, stop what they're doing, talk to me.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Dan, do I not have access to the full-time officials? I mean, this power play is getting a little bit out of control.
Okay, so we've already given an opinion that the supervisor is in control of personnel, and as a result of that, can implement restrictions on trustees and board members. The only thing that would override that would be a policy of the collective, the entire board, that could address it.
You mean a majority of the board?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see what the game is here. What do you think you're going to gain by making us ask the directors that we want to talk to or have go get Carrie and bring her out to let me in? Nothing's going to change. The discussions aren't going to change. The topics aren't going to change. The oversight's not going to change. There's nothing that comes of it other than you got a power trip you're on to prevent us from accessing it. And it all stemmed from when I went in and asked an innocent question to an employee who I'm on the planning commission, I'm on the DDA, I'm a builder in town, I'm working on facilities maintenance, I work with a half a dozen people in the township on a daily basis. So what makes them employees any more stable than elected officials when they have access to other employees too? It's a game, it's a waste of time. Whatever, it makes no, it's irrelevant, but it's just the point that we're being strong-armed and trying to be restricted, and the outcome will not, there's no net gain for all of this nonsense, in my opinion.
Unless you're an employee. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I do. And I find it novel, and again, I wasn't here last meeting, stating the obvious at this point, but one of the 3 full-time board members has exhibited behavior within this building unbecoming of an elected official. I haven't brought it public, but let me be clear that I'm very close to doing so, because as the saying goes, when you're pointing a finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back. And that is so illustrative of this particular situation and so ironic at the same time. And so, also, my full-time employer is among the most regulated and tightly controlled enterprises in the country, and among, perhaps in the world. It rivals Fort Knox in terms of you're not getting into that place without your swipe card. You gotta swipe at the guard gate. You gotta swipe to get into the main entrance. You gotta swipe to get into your floor. You gotta swipe out of your floor. I have 24/7, 365 access to that building. And so do all the employees, regardless of rank, regardless of position. So, short of a power play, I see no reason why trustees should have equal access. And if we decide that all board members together have access from 7 a.m. to midnight, then so be it. But I do want access behind the counter, because I'm not going to have to explain, respectfully, to a staff member that I'm here to see Clerk Newbeck or Treasurer Brown or whomever. And we can have, again, rules of decorum as to how we want to conduct ourselves. I think that's deeply needed right now on this board. And so, I'm gonna, frankly, ask the board to reissue whatever the legal channel needs to be, whether it's through a motion tonight, Dan, or that's sufficient.
Sure.
And I'm also going to add, and I'll articulate the motion in a moment, that the full-time electeds each have ultimate jurisdiction over the access of those under their direct employ. So Clerk Newbeck and all of her deputy clerk and all of the associate clerks that help her do the functions of her role, she would ultimately determine what access looks like. Because frankly, during election season, guess what? They probably need 24/7 access. Likewise, Treasurer Brown is gonna, I believe, should dictate the terms of his employees and what their access is based upon the needs of their department. And likewise, until we prove otherwise, trustees, with an emphasis on trustee, deserve the same rights and privileges. So with that, I would move that trustees have the same access to township facilities as full-time electeds, and they be fully reinstated immediately, commensurate with the access afforded to all full-time elected officials, and that further, all full-time elected officials, separately, those under their direct employment, have full jurisdiction and control over the terms of access for their employees. And I ask for a second.
I'd make an amendment to that. I'd follow it up that the policy has to be created, about people's decorum. That has to be part of this. Because the reason this started, obviously, was because of something. So if you're just gonna give a card back and that same stuff's gonna happen, how do you fix it? So the second part of your motion needs to be that the part you talked about, attitude, behavior, decorum, that policy has to be written. You said it's lacking.
I'm asking for, again, I had zero notice that this was happening. And again, there are really a couple different reasons why we need rules of decorum, and I'm not gonna get into those tonight. But I'm not gonna add it to my motion, but I volunteer to help to co-chair with you, that we write a rules of decorum, and we set terms for conduct and behavior becoming of this board. Mr. Pedersen got up earlier and spoke to that, and I agree. We can do better, and I don't think I've ever done anything that would violate these rules that we're gonna write, but I think let's write them. But again, I'm first and foremost asking to have reinstated what was really never a discussion. It was just a unilateral move, and I ask for a second.
There's been one.
Yeah, I don't.
We already have a second. With
So are we
support from
amending
Sam.
the motion, or are we leaving it exactly as?
I'm
you said?
leaving as is, but again, I give you my commitment that I work with you, and maybe grab a third person to form a rules of decorum. That's what I'm
Okay,
asking.
and we had a second from trustee Morocco?
Gary did. Oh, I
Okay.
thought Clerk Newbeck did.
I'd like to get a roll call vote on this, please, Madam Clerk.
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Treasurer Brown?
Yes?
Trustee Hayward?
on this?
Sorry?
Did I miss that? Yeah, I can tell by their eyes that I did. Sorry, I apologize. We got into a debate we shouldn't have gotten into before we went to the public. So the public, please come up.
We're in the middle of a vote. How do we?
Because you can make a motion.
I understand, but let's just make sure we don't do something wrong.
We can wait.
Yeah, we can wait on the vote.
Yeah.
I've already taken two.
I thought we already had discussion because trustee Harris from
We already
Waterford
had-
Township.
it went
Oh, yeah, we did, because trustee Harris came up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, good. I feel all right. All right.
Question.
Trustee Hayward?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Nalamatu?
Yes.
Trustee Tedder?
Yes.
Supervisor File?
I'll say yes with the anticipation of the policy.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay. No. Next item on the agenda is number 5. This is the request to, I think this is the right one, give me a second. Where's my sheet? This one is the request to Approve the reorganization of the Buildings, Ground, and Maintenance Department and approve new job description for the Facility, Grounds, and Maintenance. The purpose of this reorganization is to strengthen and modernize the township's existing Building, Grounds, and Maintenance Department by centralizing responsibility for all township-owned buildings, parks, grounds, and recreational facility under a single management structure. This organization change is intended to improve efficiency, accountability, preventative maintenance planning, and custom service with ensuring township assets are maintained in a safe, functional, and physically responsible manner. And with this, we were provided an org chart and a job description that went along with it, and it'll be a simple majority vote. So on this, is there any public comments? No? Any public comments from the online? No? Okay, I'll close public comments and bring it back to the board. Any questions or comments from the board? Clerk Newbeck.
The ITPRS organizational chart shows this position that looks like it's an equal to, that's not named, but Larry Hess in Parks. So the position that you're proposing is a non-union position. Larry Hess is a union position currently. So how can a non-union position be equal to a union position?
The expectation is that Larry will be coming out of the union.
Okay.
So therefore, it'll be non-union.
So that's coming at a
fourth-
later time?
Yes. We
With the-
figured that before we asked Mr. Hess to move out of the union, we'd get this approved first and foremost. So the next, if this is approved, the board decides to move in this direction, then we will be coming forth with that. This has been discussed with the Parks and Recs director, and Larry has directly, as well with the DPW director, and also the deputy DP director as well. And they've all signed off on it.
Next question. So the Director of Public Works job description and the Deputy Director of Public Works job description, does that reflect oversight of the newly proposed position?
Yeah, it contains the language in there. It doesn't call the position out specifically because it's a new position, but it does call out for this position to be under them, yes.
Well, not the facility and grounds, I'm talking about their original job description. So is facility, grounds, and maintenance a new department? A new
No.
sub-department?
We actually have that department. We just never have used it. It's actually on the GLs and everything else. And we just.
But it's just not been on the org chart?
Yeah,
or
we've never had anybody in it, technically.
I thought we have.
Well, it's
Under
been the last
safety
couple of
path
years,
and
we have not.
trails? So nobody works in that department with safety path and trails?
Not in.
With Kevin, I'm talking about.
That's a separate kind of.
Without naming names, we
Yeah.
have another full-time union employee that I thought was this position, under that title. That department, I guess. I'm confused.
This
Without
ground.
naming names.
Yeah, that part of it, and I don't know if, do you want to speak towards how that division's working out?
It's not outlined here, so it's not clear.
So just to maybe shed a little light on, maybe help answer, I wasn't here, but my understanding, Facilities Department at one time was, I think it was under the Building Department, and some of the folks that were here longer than me could maybe attest to that. And then it was a shifting of responsibilities, and that person got moved over to Public Works, and they started doing other things there, but their title stayed the same, so we still always had a facilities person, a person. So moving forward with this right now, I think it's streamlined, and we're giving the Parks and Rec folks, I feel, very strong support and to accomplish the things that they do. And we have resources that will help them do what they want, and it's in the conversations that we have. So I think it's going to be a very good thing for everybody and for the township as a whole.
So with that being said, how is that person that we're referring to, where's that person in the org chart? That's already under facilities, grounds and maintenance, or whatever you want to call it.
I don't have that in front of me, the org chart there in front of me. But he's in there, you're talking about the existing superintendent, or the existing facilities person?
Yeah, I don't know what their title is, but, I mean, their union
Facilities
level.
tech, I believe, is if I'm mistaken. It's
So
facilities
where does that
technician.
person fall in?
He falls under on the DPW side of things.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
He falls under the DPW side of things on the org
So
chart.
that person will no longer be under the facilities, grounds, and maintenance? They're now going to be under DPW?
Yeah. No, well, it's kind of a new department, like you said. It's kind of an offshoot of this whole organization that we're doing.
I
So
think
we're
he's
kind
talking
of-
about who's head of the safety path.
Oh, it
No,
won't fall
I'm
under.
not talking about that person.
Yeah, it's kind of like another little branch that we're
That
doing.
person that works in that same building with the
Mhm.
safety path person.
Yeah.
So the org chart says facilities manager, superintendent, and custodial.
Mhm.
There's just three, I mean, I can give you the org
Yeah.
chart to see. So facilities manager is the proposed,
Is that the
is
one
the
that's-
new
Yes.
proposed
Yes.
for tonight.
Correct.
Yes.
Underneath that is
Yeah.
superintendent.
Yeah.
Is that,
Oh, thank you.
We are not at this point fulfilling the superintendent or custodial position. That is, if you look at the org chart, staying under the Parks and Rec.
but it's right here.
Yeah, I'm just saying that we're not addressing that tonight. We're just looking at the facilities manager position only. This is kind of going forward. We are not to that point yet. There's no point in having any discussions around this until we have that one secured.
Well, I thought this was part of the plan that you're proposing, so it kind of goes in the whole.
You know, the org chart that we're talking about should really, the one that we should be looking at is the facility grounds and maintenance.
So it has nothing, I'm really confused, I'm sorry.
Just, let's focus on the,
Well, you provided it in the packet.
because that's,
So I'm trying to see how the two meld. I'm not understanding how the two meld.
they are melding the way that it shows in the organization chart for the ITPRS. In the future, there very well could be a superintendent and then a custodial, but that's not what we're talking about here today. If it was confusing, then I apologize, and we should probably have not included that. It was just trying to give you a look down. Today, what we're talking about and what we see for the foreseeable future is what the org looks like for the ITPRS organization chart.
So how it fits in the big picture, maybe we need to get this all figured out so that when I ask my subsequent questions, you're not gonna have an answer for it. Because it's not, you haven't melded the two, because like, is there gonna have any impact on current staffing levels or department budgets this fiscal year, next fiscal year?
None this year.
If you can't say anything about DPW right now, because we're only talking about this side off of Parks and Rec, it's not the full picture. So I think we need,
This is not, no, you're incorrect. So let me try to clarify.
okay,
And that is that in here, we're talking about adding a single position to give the oversight to be able to go through and look at all the township assets. As it stands right now, the Parks and Recs has their person, DPW has their person, and they go through and they look at them independently. The problem we're seeing with or the opportunity that I see here is that there's a way of combining that function to go through and be able to get better cost efficiencies on purchasing. You know, we have two different types of equipment we're buying for the same jobs. That's not efficient. Service contracts, everything else. So we're looking at going through and creating the facility grounds and maintenance manager under the DPW department. Okay? We are removing that function from the current parks person with the exception of the baseball, the athletic fields, and the playgrounds, because they have a unique certification that's part of the Parks and Recs. I always forget the name, but what do you call that, Lisa, again, please? The yes. Yeah, for their is going through and showing what we're looking at having as being the change there. So that's that part of it. The superintendent and custodial aspect of things are things that for the future. So you were asking, like, how do we know what's going to happen in 27, 28? That is where we're looking at going forward. And it's not something that we need to address today. As far as the budgets go, it will not impact the budget this year. We are getting into budget discussions for '27. It will be addressed at that point in time.
So it's not a budgeted item.
We're not changing the budget. It's not gonna have an impact at all on the budget.
So is it earmarked for a person already, an internal person?
What we're gonna do is we're gonna put the job description out there. If the board approves the job description, we're gonna post the job description, and we're gonna do like what we always do, is we offer it to internal first, and if there's no takers or whatever, then we go and take the outside ones,
Because the
yes.
reason I'm asking is if, either way, if it's an internal person, that could be an increase for an internal person, so.
Not this year. We are not changing any compensations. Well, let me, sure,
There's a wage scale that.
How would you know that?
Yeah.
because in there, the odds are that there is a person that's been identified. If that person accepts the position, then it would be a lateral slide until the budget gets done for '27.
Okay, we'll see, that wasn't.
No, that's a good question, that's what I'm trying to answer.
So since, sorry, I have so many questions,
No.
but it's just not clear. Superintendent and custodial is not, that's to come. So we do have superintendent and we have custodial people right now. Who, if they don't fall under the way the org chart was presented to us, where do they fall currently in the org chart then?
On the second one here, that's correct for that.
He's saying it's not.
No, it's kind of like two different, the melding of two org charts, okay? So the superintendent and the custodian that we have are under DPW right now.
So the facilities manager is the proposed position, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's the only job description that we have in there for that. is
I know,
yeah.
I know that, I understand that.
Yep.
But it's showing underneath that a superintendent and custodial, but you're saying that's not out, excuse me, that's not outlined right now. So it shouldn't be in the org chart. It should be, because those people exist, it should be somewhere else in the org chart.
Oh, you're talking about on
You see
this
what
one.
I'm saying?
It is on this
If
one.
it evolves and that person, 6 months next year is over a superintendent custodial, fine. But you're saying not right now. That's not the plan right now, so they shouldn't be in the org chart and showing under there, because that's not what's happening right now.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I'm gonna actually defer to you, so just go ahead and throw it out there.
Yeah, so,
I mean,
you
you
know-
and Lisa worked through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
So our whole goal with this whole thing really was to have, there's two employees or there's two positions that are possibly coming out of the union. And those are the key people. They really are the key people to join together to make, and share resources. That is the whole gist of all of this. And this is, the job posting or position is what's before you tonight. Eventually we'd have two people there, right?
Okay.
And then everything will fall underneath there, so if one's not here, they can cover and all that. So it's kind of like the org charts are two. One of the facilities managers will be under DPW, the other one probably be under Parks and Recreation, but it's the, combination of that piece just for those functions. So how we laid it all out is, we already have a superintendent, we have and a custodian person. They're under DPW, they'll stay there, but they'll also be part of the resources to help in Parks and Rec or in vice versa, something that needs in the township. But this is the first step, is to get that position approved and then start putting the pieces in place.
As he's spoken so many times about dominoes, this is very much a dominoes effect, because if there's an internal person that's proposed for this, or you're looking at a certain person for this proposed position, if it's approved tonight, that person most likely is not a non-union person, correct right now. So they're filling a union position probably. And we know that Larry Hess is a union position. So if we're gonna pull two people out of a union, we're gonna have two union positions. Are we going to be filling those? Are we not filling those?
Oh, you mean
I mean-
backfilling the union positions?
Well, yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, it's a domino effect.
Well,
So
it is, but
all
I
of this
think-
has not been explained and laid out.
Well, we don't know. Honestly, I can't really give you an answer, we're gonna backfill them or not, because it's the combination of resources. Could we get the efficiencies in there, we might not have to.
But we have identified a union person. We had an application out there. We do have somebody in the wings to backfill one of the union positions for sure. Matter of fact, we're waiting to see how this goes, whether or not to pull the trigger on that.
Correct.
So we know that if this is approved tonight, then tomorrow we will be hiring the other person to take one of the 2 vacant union positions.
Oh, so the plan, most likely we do need to fill the 2 union positions.
Well, I think that,
One for
the
sure.
unions are pretty much gonna wanna make sure that we do that, and that the intent is to keep their head count consistent,
Okay.
if necessary. But I do believe it probably will be. And now, will it be, it won't be necessarily exactly in that department, but at the end of the day, globally, the head count will probably be the same for the union.
Thus, my question was, is it gonna have any impact on current staffing levels or department budgets this fiscal year?
If you're
You're
talking
saying not-
globally, then yes, it will. If we're talking in this department, no.
Or Parks Department, the 2 departments?
I believe the person it's a DPW
Yeah, it's a
person.
water person.
Yeah, it's a water
Budget.
person that we're looking to hire.
To fill
A
the
labor.
DPW?
Labor position.
Okay, but then.
That's budget.
If Larry is moved out, maybe Lisa needs to answer that. Would there be a need to fill Larry's union position? Because Larry's somewhat boots on the ground, so.
I don't want to put Lisa on the spot, but, that she's going to have to answer that. I would assume. she had-
Yes, yes, we would have to backfill a 4th park position, because that has been the problem with our organizational structure all along. Larry has been the superintendent of all our parks, and he hasn't been afforded the liberty of fulfilling that role in a true sense, because he's pulled back to boots on the ground constantly. So, we have evolving workloads. We're increasing facilities, taking on more things, and addressing those the demands, was a big part of this. As Supervisor File stated, is combining resources, working smarter, more effectively as a team, and collaborating a little bit more to make that work. But to answer the question, yes, I truly believe that 4th person is much needed to cover the current workload of the team.
I'm quite sure she'll be putting it in the forthcoming budget.
Correct. That would be the hope for both positions.
Yep.
Right, we're kind of fleshing this out piece by piece, so we would like to come back, when we're kind of ready to take on that next piece of what that structure would look like.
And I'll just comment that corresponding job descriptions probably need to be amended to reflect this
Yeah.
new change. So I think they should
This
come
is the
back.
base right here for like the DPW side. I'm just going to, on the org chart. But it is actually the boilerplate that Lisa will probably use to maybe customize and tweak it a little bit for the Parks and Rec side of things. But essentially, it's the same positions, but, there's different skill sets. Again, we're combining skill sets and moving people into positions where they can be more effective.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Any other questions about it? Trustee Tedder.
A few things here. Conceptually, I understand the need for this position. We've got Trustee Morocco as a board liaison to the Buildings and Grounds team. I think since that creation of that, it's been great. Uncovered a lot of things, did things in a structurally sound way with the appropriate materials. Again, we shouldn't expect the Director of Parks and Rec to be also a general contractor and know who the best people to hire. And so I understand the need for this position. I can appreciate that. I'm curious, was there a labor attorney involved in helping to write this and help to navigate this? Or-
If we look through the, as far as the job description, I believe it went to the Kelly firm. I noticed that we don't have it, yeah, it is, and it was in the packet, so, yeah. That's right
So the
on
Kelly
there,
firm
on the
wrote
May.
this?
For point of clarification, I did ask the labor attorneys if she did write that job description, and she said she was not involved in it. So maybe Dan can clarify that or not.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I mean, I haven't talked with Nancy about whether or not she was involved.
I sent her an email and asked her because I noticed some discrepancies in it, and she responded that she was not involved in it.
And I'm sure she wasn't.
Could there have been another attorney in your office involved in it?
It's possible, but I doubt it. Nancy, and it's not unusual for your HR internally to prepare job descriptions. Maybe at some point have them reviewed by the attorney, but it's not unusual. But I doubt that your HR would have reached out to anybody but Nancy.
Next question, I appreciate Clerk Newbeck's comments. I'm equally confused by this org chart. Larry Hess stepping down from the union for a seemingly lateral position. Again, I think, for many, there's benefits to union affiliation. It provides a layer of protection that a exempt employee doesn't have. And so ultimately, the vision here is for the facilities and grounds maintenance manager to have supervision and oversight over the superintendent of Parks and Rec.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Can you restate your question?
Just the facilities grounds maintenance manager will, through this, what I see, have oversight, whether immediately or near future, over the superintendent of Parks and Recreation.
So essentially, no. So currently, Larry's title is superintendent of parks. So that position would essentially go away if we created a lateral position to the facilities manager that's being presented tonight on the parks side. We would not have a superintendent of parks in that structure. So they would be on the same level. One would not oversee the other, and each would report to their department head.
So one would oversee all buildings, grounds, maintenance for parks, and the new position for everything else.
No.
No.
Baseball fields or something.
The only things we've carved out specifically, that person will have responsibility over all township assets, everything from pump houses to whatever, except for the athletic fields and the playgrounds, because you need a specific certification in order for us to maintain our Parks and Rec accreditation. So the language in there does not include those two things consciously.
What about the spray park? How would that fall in there too?
So the spray park would still fall under the park side. We have an aquatics facilitator, facility operator license. One of our staff members holds that. I think the vision is very much that the planning for the parks, the vision of the parks in terms of facilities, amenities, the growth, that still is very much going to fall under the Parks Division, under the the Parks Director. Special events planning, rentals, playgrounds, the aquatic side, that still falls under the Parks Division. It would be, just the maintenance, the grounds, the preventative maintenance being a huge piece of that for our buildings, creating preventative maintenance schedules and such to follow as a team. We work collaboratively together with DPW, with facilities.
Vertical assets will be taken care of.
All right, and just two more things, and I'll pass the baton here. We're talking potentially, with the will of the board and the will of the people, potentially 8-figure improvements and addition of assets to the township, the capital improvement projects, potentially 8 figures worth of improvements, whether utilizing our budget, whether bonding, et cetera. That's gonna, in my estimation, that's gonna require a level of sophistication that I don't believe is articulated in this position. And I say that because the pay is $65,000 to $71,000. And I think that is going to be dramatically low to try and attract what I envision is the caliber of person that's gonna need to fill those potential shoes. We don't know. We don't know until we get there. And the other thing,
Can I address that?
Yeah, yeah, please.
So we've already filled that position with our new deputy director. He came from a position where he was responsible for as a facility manager for all the facilities. So we already have that higher level person that has the skills and expertise in our new deputy director. So this, again, there's a hierarchy to
It
this.
says in here, this guy manages the CIP
And then
projects.
the director, deputy director oversees all that. That's why you see in the hierarchy here, the deputy director is over that person. So,
Okay.
just like McKee's ultimately over the deputy director.
And the last thing here, the way this is written is in part like a on-the-job training, when I think, again, caliber person I'm envisioning here would already have the necessary credentials, licenses, certifications necessary to perform the work, and I'm trying to find the exact language. But it's, again, to the spirit of that they're not required, but that down the road, date TBD, that they would be getting the certifications necessary to perform the job. That's kind of, again, troubling for me as well. So I just see some holes in this right now. I'm not saying we don't need this position down the road. I'm just reluctant. And I don't know if there's a representative from the union here that could speak to what functionally is going to happen. You lose 2 unionized employees. Matter of fact, what's going to happen? Is it a may? Is it shall? Backfill positions, et cetera.
So again, to address that, we have already identified one to replace from a head count. Okay, so we're talking really one. Literally tomorrow, if the board approves it tonight, tomorrow that union person would be hired. So it would be one. And it'd be 1-to-1 actually, because we haven't asked Larry to move out of that position yet. Okay, so we have 100% backfilled it. The intent, and I don't want to be deceptive on this, the intent is to move Larry out of that position and give him more of a leadership position for the Parks and Rec. You'll notice under here that there is not a deputy director, so we're looking for Larry to kind of pick up some of the things to also help Lisa go through and take some of the stuff off her plate so she can deal with some of those CIP projects. The CIP projects in themselves, those are, even if the board unanimously agrees to do these, we're not going to see those come into play until probably into a managing type scenario until probably 28 at the earliest. What we're looking at is we've got a year and a half or a little bit less to get some other things together that from a skill standpoint, this person is already doing them now. Okay, and Mike. So we're looking at Mike Spiegel specifically. So from that standpoint, he's already engaged. He's engaged with the group that I put together, which includes Sam Morocco and so forth. I believe, I don't want to put words in, Sam can address whether, he believes that Mike's, let's just leave that. Yeah, let's leave that off. I apologize, I shouldn't have done that.
That's not appropriate.
Yeah, it's not, it really isn't, so I apologize to Mike if he's here.
Trustee Taylor, if I could just, I have every intentions of backfilling with the union person.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, 100%, I want to tell you that, and Supervisor Fowle knows that as well.
Okay.
I think another thing that's important for this board to understand is that it was my initiation to go through and consolidate these things based on some of the feedback I got from the, I don't know, what do we call that commission? Or the group, Sam, that you and Chad and everybody else, what do we call that?
Asset Committee?
Yeah, okay, so.
That committee?
It was some of the feedback that I got from there. I'm like, look, and that may drive me into starting to look, why do we have this? Why are we in the state? That brought up a bunch more questions. I had some meetings with these two, the directors here, and then I said, look, you guys figure out how to go through and divide this up and get it organized. But what I'm looking for is a single silo here to be able to go through and make sure that our township assets are being managed in a proper fiduciary responsibility. And so the organization, I don't believe I've had much in the, as far as who gets what divided up and all that. I left it up to those two, my directors. I trust them to be able to come up with an org structure that works for both of them and they can work with and accept.
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Question? Trustee
Yeah,
Brown.
I'll go through my list. I am concerned about the fact that the classification and compensation study guidelines that we're supposed to be following weren't met with the job description. The pay scale doesn't align with that. And I think we need to get that in order. We've agreed as a board that we're gonna hire within a certain pay range. I think those are, some of them are too low. Some of them we didn't have information for when the study was done. Whoever created the job description didn't follow the guidelines. So I would like that to be in line with our policy before it's approved, ideally. I am concerned about taking people out of the union. I don't know what, I'm still confused about, we're implementing another layer of management for the facilities maintenance, and I understand that, but why doesn't he just take, why isn't everything just under facilities maintenance? Why is the parks, what does the facilities of the parks have to do with being in Lisa's department?
We're talking the grounds, the buildings.
Well, not the buildings, because we're taking the buildings out of the hands of the parks. That's the reason this position was created, because we had.
It says grounds and
other
maintenance.
Okay.
What am I missing in your question?
Well, this position arose because there wasn't time for the staff to maintain the buildings in the township under the current way that it was written, and that's why everything is so deteriorated and in such need of work, which is what we're identifying as we do all these inspections on the buildings, which is great. And Mike has been doing a great job at that, and he's been getting stuff done fast, and I got no problems with what Mike's doing. What I don't understand is why the parks and Lisa still is involved in anything to do with facilities or buildings or her staff or anything to do with that as the parks director and programmer, you know, because that system didn't work, having park staff take care of parks buildings. Now, grass cutting and baseball diamonds, that's a different situation, okay? But that's not parks. That's the concession stand, the buildings, the bathrooms. That's got nothing to do with the parks director, in my opinion, and she should be removed from that. So I don't know why this operational chart doesn't just eliminate the connection to parks. I doubt that Lisa's out there inspecting the grass and going, hey, you gotta set the mower another half-inch lower. You know, hey, the dirt's a little bit rough, because we have specialists in the sub-departments, you know, with certifications to do that. They don't necessarily, a groundskeeper doesn't need to be linked to parks.
Okay, so here's the reason why.
Okay.
Okay. And so
I'm
now
not done yet, but I'm gonna stop for your
Okay.
answer my question.
I now get what you're asking. So from a facility standpoint, Lisa is out, the Parks and Recs is out of the facilities, out completely. Okay? That's why it's over there in the blue. It's not over there in the, I don't know, lavender. The horizontal there is really to more represent, there has to be a level of communication and cooperation between the two, because Parks and Recs puts on programs. We can't suddenly just go out there and start cutting the grass and everything else without coordinating that. In the past, that was done internally within the Parks and Recs, because the grass cutting and all that was inside of just the Parks and Rec. They were doing that. This is to illustrate the fact that there's going to be, and that's why it's a dotted line. It's more of a communication line, working together teams line, where they can go through and say, hey, we've got these programs going on, so we need to work with the facility and grounds people to make sure that we're not out there cutting the grass when we have all the kids out there playing
But
something.
why does Larry gotta come out of the union for this? I don't get it. Because he's not Lisa's not in the union, so Larry's reporting to a non-union person, and then, but is Larry, are the people under Larry, all these people are non-union down here?
No, they're all union.
Okay, but they're in blue, right? So why wouldn't you just keep Larry in the union and have him operate under the facilities grounds maintenance with a line of communication to Parks and Rec?
Well, I just,
Because that's equipment, so, but I don't like
I'm gonna
about
step
it
into
is,
your world
is
a
that
little
we've
bit,
got
if
a
you
lot
don't
of
mind,
equipment,
so-
we got a lot of mowing, we've got the safety path, we've got
Yeah.
the parks, we've got this whole thing you're talking about, unison, everybody buying together, everybody being together. I just don't understand
Okay, point of
why
order.
he's
Point of
under-
order.
Why he's under parks.
Point of order. This is just about approving a one particular job description that we haven't gotten to, Larry. That'll probably be another agenda item, and I'd rather talk about it then.
Well,
because-
it's because it affects the job description is the only reason I asked that, but I'll move on.
Okay.
Okay, but that was because of the, that I think he should be in the job description. I do have, I'm definitely don't like the way that the job description was done and doesn't meet the township guidelines. So I'm gonna have a problem with that. I do have an issue with the job description, that if all of this stuff is required of them, then I think that the pay scale range, which isn't meeting the 20% criteria established by the township, needs to be adjusted, and maybe that can be adjusted in the upward position, because we need to meet that 20% threshold that's been established by the board. I don't agree with not having the labor attorneys and the unions involved in creating positions, because it seemed like it was kind of a little sketchy how that went down. Managing multi-million-dollar projects is a lot different than fixing things that are broken. So there is a level of experience that, I assume that's trickling down from the Deputy Director of Public Works, but it's in here. I think there needs to be a time limit. I don't like on-the-job training on high-end positions with a lot of responsibility. I think the people that get the position should be trained and certified when they get the job, is in my opinion. And the license and certifications. And this job description includes a lot of notations in training, that they're gonna be responsible for OSHA training, they're gonna be responsible for training the staff. That is a whole different level of expertise and education to be training. So I think that there's some tweaks that need to be made to the job description, or some clarification, and I think that it needs to be brought into compliance with the classification and compensation study that we're supposed to be enforcing, and that's my comments. Thank you.
Through the job description, you guys went through that, correct? Right, and you and your deputy director, correct? Okay. Trustee Morocco brought up a bunch of points there. What's your take on that part, his comments?
Well, the assistant DPW director we had, that's his wheelhouse. He's done multi-million projects for years. He's very good at it.
I get
And then,
that.
and the trustee Tedder mentioned some of the facilities, things that we want to do. Well, we haven't done anything yet. As a board, you're making great progress on, building new buildings or renovating and things of that nature. And my take on that is it's better to be prepared to handle that internally, the maintenance pieces of that and all that, once the final vision is completed. Instead of waiting until it's all done, then go, okay, what do we do? I'd rather have that in place now. So is there training? People learn things? Of course, that's nature. We promote from in-house. We always want to promote from in-house and work people up. You get loyalty, you get commitment and all that. I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think we have the skill sets in place now, especially under the Deputy Director for Public Works. I believe he's going to be very, very good for this township when it comes to that. His facilities is his wheelhouse. We haven't built anything yet. Once we start building things up, we'll have people in place to make that happen. So I think this is the right direction to start. There's a saying, you have to eat the elephant one bite at a time. So this is the first bite. We want to make sure that we're prepared so when we do things, because you could, potentially approve multi-million-dollar projects, and they're going to go right away, and then next thing you know, they'll be done, and then we'll be trying to figure out what we're going to do to maintain that nice brand-new asset that the citizens paid for.
And to your point on the study, I think by the time that the compensation levels and all that rise to that level of asking, we'll be through the budget phase. So that will be reflected in the 27 budget.
No, I get it. I just want to know why this doesn't meet the standards. I mean, whoever created this job description is either not aware of this classification and compensation study they're supposed to be following, or they neglected to do it. So that's why, so I'm not in favor of approving stuff that's out of compliance with what the board policy is. Now, you can adjust it, you can make it match it, and I'm not opposed to the position, but I'm not going to vote for something that was just created incorrectly and then it doesn't meet the standard. And I think that, on a side note very quickly, that all the job descriptions we have created recently, including the deputy director and all of that, that every time a job description is created and a job position is created, that the classification and compensation study is updated and amended at that same meeting on the same agenda item or the next agenda item to stay in compliance with the hiring practices and salaries that we've established. I've requested a bunch of information, as some of the board members know about this, to see where we align with it. I think that we're low on a lot of places, and that's gonna hinder us from getting good people to come here, because we're working off of bad data and we don't have the right amount. And somebody coming in making $60,000 a year is not the type of level of employee, in my opinion, that does the caliber of work that we're asking them to do. And if they can perform at the level we're asking them, that's not a position that's going to want to be attracted by people with that type of experience, in my opinion.
We're drifting here again. So we're talking about the job description. If you feel more comfortable amending into it, the fact that the motion says that the compensation has to be in line with the study, I don't think anybody would be upset who was going to get this position to see a bump come. I don't think it's going to matter.
I don't know if up or down, it's got to have a span. I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
So, quick comment. I'd like to see this go before our labor attorney, clean this up, align it with the criteria set within our board policy. Right now, 3 years at 3%, that person's going to be maxed out from gaining additional raises. At least that's how it would be if this were a job description where I work. And so there needs to be that 20% latitude. Again, if a candidate ends up wowing us, and it doesn't sound like there's a very robust process, but should there be, I've just hired some people and there was probably 20,000 difference doing the same job because of the levels of experience. I don't think it would hurt anything to have our labor attorney look at this, and I think it'd be an opportunity here as well to bring back the Parks and Rec superintendent job description, or whatever that evolution is going to be for our candidate stepping out of the union into a non-union role, and provide the clarity that I think it lacks here, and so we can see how the puzzle fits together.
Yeah, but you're blending, right? So the
But again,
sole intent was just to come up with this job description. So if you're asking for that additional clarification, no problem.
Yeah, that's what simply, that's a suggestion, but,
Okay.
yeah, unique to that, yes.
Is that your hand?
It is.
Okay.
Just being
Treasurer Brown?
Just being patient. So, a couple of these, I think, have already sort of been talked about. I think you indicated that we're not gonna have a budget issue, but I know we were really tight on setting budgets this year, so if we're creating 2 new positions, employing union people out of them, and then backfilling the union positions, how does it not have an impact on this year? Sorry. How does it not have an impact on this year's budget, number one? Because again, as far as I know, we don't have extra money out there for positions that aren't gonna be filled this year. And then number two, what's the impact on next year's budget? Because again, we worked very hard to be able to bring down our expenses and reduce the millage on their general millage. And so I'd like to see what the impact is on it. There's that. I know that typically the person responsible for these duties listed here works under the Department of Public Works. If you look through here, and it talks about knowledge of HVAC, plumbing, electrical systems, understanding building codes and federal, state level codes. I kind of wonder why there's not something, why it doesn't go into the building department, where we actually are responsible for understanding all those things under the building director. Like I said, I find where this typically is with the Department of Public Works. And so I question that, but probably there's an answer for it. As I read this description, which is extremely detailed, and so this position would, if the board approves everything, be managing capital improvement projects of greater than $10 million. And when I look at that and all these responsibilities, 60, 70 grand, I don't even think it's close. I think the low end is probably 100 grand, and the high end is probably 140. And so I guess I don't understand that, because what we're doing with capital projects right now is a big deal. And I didn't realize this was also going to have oversight over all of the DPW buildings, including pump houses and all that. Right, so that's even more. But this is a lot of stuff that's going to be managed, and I just wonder if that pay is the right scale for what we want. That's all I have.
Trustee Hayward.
Question. Who created the job description?
I believe it started out with the HR department, and then it became between Lisa and Parks and Rec director and the DPW director.
Okay. Well, I was unaware of the guidelines that we have, but I had Clerk Newbeck for some information, and that happened to be attached to it. So there are 9 factors that are determined, or that are used to determine the pay scale of a particular job. I don't believe those were used. And this is, like Paul alluded to, this is probably a lot lower salary than it should be based on the 9 factors. In that document as well, we're supposed to have a 20% pay range spread. This particular position was only 9.2%. And it caused me to look back at some other things that we had recently approved, and they do not also, neither of those positions don't meet the pay range spread as well. So we probably need to go back and look at some of those things. I just want to make sure that we are approving like everybody else at the other end of the table there is approving a job description that has the proper pay, has the proper structure, that's according to the guidelines that were set forth by this board, well, not by this, most of this board at the end of 2023, so.
20% is based on the median wage. So, I mean, when you look at the wages that we put in here, and correct me if I'm wrong, goes through and says, okay, we have on the high end, I'm making up numbers here, 100,000. On the low end range, we could have 70,000. And then you guys, when I say you guys, those who voted for the scale thing, the pay scale, said, okay, we're going to stay within, and I think there was a couple different recommendations based on the spread and off the median, deviations off the median, was 20%. I don't believe it was the difference between the high end and the low end of the scale and the job description had to be 20%. It had to be within 20% of the median of the ranges for the data provided.
I don't know.
That's the way I read it.
Just as
Page
20
21.
If I'm incorrect,
Well,
then I'm
that's-
incorrect, but that's the way I
Yeah.
read it.
20% spread in salary ranges. That's
Yep, and
what
it says 8% between each grade. That's what it says. So I just got it last night, so I was able to look at a little bit today. I just don't feel that, I think we need to look at that document a little bit more, and like Jim alluded to, the attorney probably needs to look at that and make sure that it's correct, if they haven't. And it looks like they probably haven't. So, that's all.
Okay. Other questions?
I think I'd just like to make a motion to table this till the next meeting, till all the other loose ends are tied up and things have gone through and more discussion between the attorney and everybody else.
Second.
Well,
Can I
I don't believe we need to make a motion to table, we just don't do anything. Is that-
Okay.
Is that accurate?
We just
Well,
take
you
no
can do it
action.
either way, but,
Okay, that's
yeah,
fine.
you're right, no action, but at least this is direction to bring it back, I guess.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Can I comment since a second's been made? I didn't have a chance to ask for an amendment to it, if Terry would consider having to put in there that the township attorneys and the union get eyes on it before it comes back.
Yes, I said whatever loose ends were talked about
Okay, I just
in the
wanted to
discussion.
specify those things.
So, a question, why do we need to bring in the union attorney? What's your thoughts
I
on
didn't
that?
say the union attorney, the union, because we're taking people out of it's what you do. And I was under the understanding that you get the union on board when you're taking people out of the union, that you make sure it could be just a phone call. I don't know how the process works, but every time I've been involved in it before, the union seems to want to have a say in whether they're coming or going, or the head counts are being met. We went through that same discussion with the building department job descriptions and positions, and I would rather protect ourselves with the labor attorney and the union, not attorneys, I don't know who, the union itself.
The president.
Signing off on it,
President.
that it's, that they're gonna verify there's no ramifications, that we're not gonna have to film within a certain amount of time or position, and
Right.
what the outcome of it becomes when you start moving union employees around.
Right, so, and that might be the appropriate, I wouldn't make it part of the motion. I mean, let the attorney, in this case Nancy Olin, your labor counsel, make the decision whether or not the job description creates something that obligates us to contact the union. It may be, to
Okay.
be honest with you.
Good with
So,
that.
And then, you know, the opinion would be given to the administration that we should reach out to the union.
Through the legal review of the,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
okay. Do we want to make a motion, or do you just want to table and move on? Because I think we understand where we're
There's
going.
been one and seconded, so we
All right.
have to do something.
He said we don't need to.
I know, but it's already been made and seconded, so
Might as well finish it out.
Provide some
we
teeth.
need to finish.
Do we need to do a roll call? Can we do something?
No, simple's fine.
All those in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tabled. Thank you. Data center, number 6 is the data center moratorium. This resolution proposes a temporary 6-month moratorium on new data center development while the township studies the impact development appropriate zoning standards. This is not a permanent prohibition. It is a deliberate pause to ensure future decisions and are informed and protective of the public interest. If we look through, we have had a lot of conversations we haven't, but there's been a lot of conversations in the news about data centers. Well, the likelihood of one coming to Independence Township is probably pretty thin, just because of the requirements that data centers look for. But at the same token, if one did come in right now, we are unprepared to be able to handle it. I think the fact that Trustee Tedder and I, on that trip that we took up to
MTA.
the MTA, we both ended up sitting in this class, and one of the things that they did say was prudent was to have a moratorium on it to better define the criterias that are involved in having a data center in there, because most people haven't looked at it. With that being said, I will open it up to public comments if anybody has any. If, yes, please.
Hello, I'm Stuart Mitchell, 4840 Fox Creek East. I am speaking in support of the moratorium and in support, hopefully, of a future ban outright of data centers in Independence Township and any surrounding area, just because often, as we've seen with current ones that are implemented throughout the country, they end up competing with the community for resource needs, municipal resources. There's loads of noise pollution concerns. There's very few permanent positions created at these data centers, as few as 25, a maximum of 150 once they're actually created. They're often approved and pushed through with very limited public oversight and public comment. Also just concerns about like if there was going to be one here, what kind of data is going to be stored, what types of companies are purchasing that and are interested in that space. Like how will that data be connected and secured? Will there be any connections to the military like some of these companies have as well? As well as like what spaces would be proposed and could they be better used for something that actually benefits the community? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, please? Just one second, sir.
Good evening. Jeff Dwyer, 8890 Sashbaugh Road. Wonderful to see a young man with information. God bless him.
Okay.
And I support him wholeheartedly. You're talking about all the beautification of this township, Clarkson, Independence. I love that. We do have a beautiful community here, and I don't want to see a data center coming in here. I mean, with the exception of one place, the Gulag of Clarkston across the street, which is horrible. It's destroyed the look of this community. I know a lot of you weren't here, but that's disgusting, and a lot of people know. You probably heard it, so. But I second what he said about the data center. No way. It would be a no vote or a hell no vote. Excuse me. Have a good night.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Rick Colano, 6474 Southampton in Independence Township. My reason for commenting on this is that I'm recently retired as an acoustical engineer for 46 years. And granted, I haven't looked at your township ordinance in a little bit, maybe a year and a half or so. But last time I did, your ordinance for noise is extremely outdated. It's based on measurements that can't be made with current instrumentation, strictly speaking. It's based on the old pre-1958 octave band limits. And those haven't been used since 1958 with any instrumentation available. So if you are truly going to look at the noise issue for a data center, I suggest you also consider updating your noise ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please come up.
Hi, Bill Scarborough, 5704 Nob Hill Circle. I am speaking on behalf of the Planning Commission as my position as chairman. I would like to hear more about this before I speak, but that's not the way it works, so here I am. That being said, I don't know where this is going, but big picture, I think it's a great idea. Independence Township may not be faced with a large-scale data center like Saline is getting, but even so-called small data centers can have impacts on noise, water, wastewater, electricity, and those kind of impacts that are typical uses in office and industrial zoning districts don't have. So I think our current ordinances do not address some of those differences, so I think amending our ordinance to cover it is a good idea. And I look forward to the Planning Commission being brought into this process. And I also encourage you to use Carlisle Wortman, who has significant experience working with data centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, anyone online? No? Okay, I'll bring it up to the board. Anyone on the board have a comment?
Yeah, question.
Go ahead, please.
Where did this idea come from? What drove this
So,
idea?
this came from me because of, in part, the MTA conference that Trustee Tedder and I went to, and also listening to all the conversations around the Saline and all the issues and everything else there. The fact that, there are a couple of them going into Michigan. We also have in Springfield, I was talking to the supervisor up there about 2 months ago, and he was approached by 2 different companies to build a data center there.
Right.
And so they went through the moratorium aspect of things. I did talk to the township attorney, asked them, what are they finding out? I believe Orion just adopted basically the exact same thing to put a pause on it, and it just became through that level of conversations that I suddenly realized we're not prepared to be able to deal with it if it suddenly hits us. You cannot ban it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so the only thing we can do is put a moratorium on it, and so that's what we're looking to do. And then we go through the ordinance, and I think there'll be a bunch of different ordinance changes and so on and so forth that will.
Where do you think that we have a spot that they could even put one?
Well,
we're going through this exercise.
So here's the funny thing, right? A data center can be anything from a 4 servers sitting in a room, because technically that's a data center, to a full-scale mega one in Saline. So in there, we have a couple pieces of property that could be. McLaren, for example, has, I think Clerk Newbeck and I were looking at the property size and everything else. I think they had roughly, 60 acres divided across the road though. But they're almost in an ideal situation because there is a DTE substation there. We have the water tower there. They have access to water. It's kind of remote, so I can see where they would say, yeah, that might be a good spot to put a data center of X size.
I mean, that's a PUD.
It could be.
It is a PUD now.
Okay.
So how would they get it in a PUD?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's
the only reason I'm asking
concerns.
this is because I don't want to get all the residents worked up if there's not a reasonable reason, that there's a reasonable reason for this. It seems like we're blowing up a big thing, and I mean, being on the planning commission for 20 years, and I know a lot of the properties here, I just can't imagine that we're vulnerable for this, and I'm not saying I want a data center, but it's it's gonna cost a lot of money to do all this, and now that you've opened this can of worms, now you're saying we're going to invest in redoing all of our ordinances to protect it. If we do a moratorium, that's the whole point of it, now to make the investment and all the rules to stop it. And I wish that this would have came to the planning commission for discussion, or to the consultants or something before it jumped out here in the public like this, because we had the same situation with grow houses. You can't outlaw grow houses, but we can make it where they're only available in certain parts of the township, and that's just adding that to an industrial park, which we don't have any space in an industrial park big enough to hold a data center, or to a certain area. So we can legally just restrict where we allow them in the township. Whether or not there's feasible amount of property or not is not relevant, just that they are allowed, and there's a parcel. So maybe a 2-server unit counts, but not a Saline unit wouldn't be accessible. So I wish it would have been some more. I mean, now you've opened Pandora's box. You got people here all talking about they don't want data centers, and I just don't want a panic going on of something that was fabricated and has about a 0% chance of or a 10% chance of actually having any impact on the township. So that's just what. If you want to do it, I'm assuming you're bringing a budget amendment for this so that you can afford to pay the planning commission and Carlisle to go through this whole process, because it will be a long, lengthy ordinance and expensive process to do this, just like it was with the sign ordinance and just like it is with other ones, especially of this nature. So there's a cost to opening this can of worms, and once we say we're doing a moratorium, we're committed to it. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page for that, and that it actually is a thing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You pause, and I keep on thinking you're done, so I apologize.
Fake pause. Just catching my breath.
Just so you understand the dollar amounts that are involved in this, is that in Springfield Township, they identified 60 acres. Part of what Springfield Township came back and said is that the board came back and said, and I'm not sure if it was the planning commission or the board of trustees, came back and said, wait a minute, there's a subdivision that butts right up against that. There's 25 new homes or 28 new homes, and, that subdivision was just built in the last 10 years, they said, okay, we'll pay triple the cost of whatever they paid for it for all of them. Money is not an object for these guys. It's irrelevant. So when we sit there and talk about this, I identified a raw piece that we just talked about land, but that doesn't mean they can't go in and go buy something else, tear it down and build it too. That is an option. That's the funny money. $6 billion was what they just offered Springfield on their development.
Which
So that's
would
why I'm
make
just
sense
I'm just trying to be
because they're
preventative.
less populated and less land value over there, which is why it seems odd that they're gonna come into a highly dense populated area when all we're surrounded by open space. Just seemed like an unlikely scenario
Well,
to happen.
They can't now because of Springfield's moratorium, but I mean, again,
I
Treasurer
guess
Brown.
Thank you. Dan, if the board passes this moratorium, we don't have to take any other action at this point in time. And if we're gonna move forward with some other direction, we'll come back and there'll be a recommendation, and if budgeting is needed for it, the board will be able to act on that before we go spend a ton of money, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So there's not any harm to take this initial step, and then for him to allow the planning commission to go look through it, and even an initial phase, just to talk about what kind of risk it is. Because I think it's important for the board to know what that risk is. What's the percentage of a chance that something could come here? How small is it? And do we feel like the public is concerned enough that we say, let's just make sure it doesn't happen, even if it costs us $100 grand? The board can make a decision once we know that, before we spend money. So, that's my thoughts.
Trustee Hayward.
Yeah, I just don't understand why we'd have a 6-month moratorium and not do anything in those 6 months.
Well, I don't either.
I mean, we have to do something now. I mean, if we're gonna pause, then let's use that time, because if 6 months expires, somebody walks in, we didn't do anything, we wasted 6 months.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the only thing that I would add to the discussion is the basis for the moratorium is that if you believe that our ordinances don't adequately address the unique characteristics of a data center, that's why we're looking at changing the ordinances, right? So we believe it's accurate, that there's a couple of different classifications that could fall under our zoning ordinance, and so we need to take a look at it to make sure that data centers, which are unique, are addressed. And that's the basis for the moratorium.
Other questions? Trustee Detter.
Thank you. I also agree. If we're going to pass a moratorium, we don't just sit on our hands. Because, the gentleman spoke, our acoustical standards go back to 1958, right? That was pre Pine Knob, certainly, right? So this may be an opportunity to just, in a general sense, revisit key tenets of our zoning ordinance, including sound. I think that's a healthy exercise by itself. So, yeah, the MTA conference, there was a really great speaker, and I know we can lean on the resources he provided to kind of guide us in a very pragmatic way, not in a doom and gloom, but a very pragmatic way. How do you successfully set yourself up as a township? Because a lot of the horror stories people hear are relative to gigacenters. Again, 1,000 megawatts. They consume the same amount of electricity as an entire natural gas plant, right? So, to give you context. But those are rare. They're unique, and they're generally in very rural areas. There's 80 or 90 data centers throughout Michigan, and no one even knows it. So, is it a healthy exercise to go through this and kind of just, check ourselves? I don't think it's terrible, but my recommendation or my ask is that we would recommend the motion to, upon adoption, to task the Planning Commission to review, evaluate zoning regulations, incorporate our consultants necessary. Again, have them go through that exercise. I'm reluctant as well that this didn't start at least with the planning commission, because I think that's where it's properly founded. I think that was the spirit of the comments earlier by Mr. Scarborough. So those are some of my comments. Otherwise, pretty neutral.
Let me muddy the water up a little bit. I do want to make sure that everyone on the board is aware of the fact that Governor Whitmer has come out with a new data center proposal. That proposal is not a moratorium on data centers. Matter of fact, she says Michigan welcomes data centers. It has also been advertised that the major gigawatts data centers have accepted her, I think there's a term, Michigan Affordable and Reasonable Growth Act plan. They've all accepted it. To me, again, I am not necessarily for or against them. I just am a little leery, having been in the IT business and everything else for 30 years, that if they all of a sudden all agree with it, I guess it's slanted a little bit probably in their favor. And I would like to make sure that we have an understanding of what that may shake out to be as well, so we go through here and we're not relying solely on the state to do it. But I did want to make the board aware that there is that out there right now, the Michigan Affordable and Reasonable Growth Action Plan. All right, any other questions?
I just have a statement about the MAIF. Whoever's going to make the motion, that the MAIF says that it's to allow the township supervisor time to review and evaluate its zoning regulations and develop appropriate standards. And I think that what was meant to be said was that to allow the township board, not the township supervisor, unless you did mean only you. But I don't think you did.
Can we just point blank direct the planning
you said
commission to
planning
take this
commission.
up
I
and
guess-
have them do the lifting?
So let me address yours first. It was to get it together, not to come up with a final plan or anything. It was to take the time to get it all organized and get it together. You know, as you were talking, you know, I was thinking that, you know, in that motion, it should be in conjunction with the planning commission and the consultants or whatever. I mean, I wasn't looking in here to do all the work myself, but if you want to include that specificness in there, that's fine.
Well, what I'm saying is if this moves forward, you're not going to be involved. If the planning commission's going to do all the work and then make a recommendation to the board, not to say you're not involved, but
Yeah.
it's going from the planning commission to the board.
Yes, I agree with that,
Okay,
that process.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
not, that everyone's clear on what the process would be.
Well, I'm happy to make a motion. I'll move to adopt resolution number 2026-014, imposing a temporary 6-month moratorium on the establishment, permitting consideration, review, approval, construction, and/or installation of new data centers within Independence Township, effective immediately upon adoption, and direct the township supervisor to engage the planning commission and necessary consultants to review and evaluate its zoning regulations and develop appropriate standards governing the location, design, and operation of data center developments in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare.
Support.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Treasurer Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Hayward?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Nalamathu?
Yes.
Trustee Tedder?
Yes.
Supervisor File?
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Motion carried.
The SAD policy, regulation, or regular business number 7. This item represents the accumulation of the board's previous approval review of the Township Special Assessment District paving policy. The proposed amendment modernizes the program, improves transparency, strengthens financial stability, and provides residents with a more predictable process. The board's responsibility tonight is to determine whether these amendments achieve those objectives. For the benefit of Trustee Tedder, who hopefully didn't spend too much time while he was in the hospital watching the board meeting, especially when it's a heart-related. The idea here is to take that motion that we went through and the things we discussed on the modification to the SED paving, to go through and bring forth the actual proposal this time with the red lines through there. So you have included in the packet, there was the current SAD road paving policy, and then there was also included a separate red line proposal, SAD Public Road Improvement Policy. This was reviewed by I guess it says it was completed by the attorney, so the attorney went through and reviewed the language of the agreement, or the SAD policy, and I guess that's really it. The main difference here is to allow for, the previous one was designed based on the township funding the projects. Really, the only major difference here in what that one was and to what this one is, again, we're leaving the same policy, we're just making modifications to it, is to allow to go out, the township to go out and bond multiple projects into one single bond, utilizing the bond, the township's credit rating in order to get a more favorable rate. Last meeting, we had the bond company here who went through, kind of explained that based on our asset base of our tax valuation of, was it 3.2 billion, I believe it was, if you, as long as your debt remains under 10% of that, which is 320 million, it should not have any increase on the credit rating. So from that standpoint, there's minimal risk, because I think right now we have about 8 or 9 million out in debt. Even with the future CIP projects, if we hit a home run and they all get approved, we are still significantly under that amount to impact the bond ratings. The other thing is that it will give, it's completely scalable now, where we ran into all the best intentions, kind of came back and bit us a little bit, in the sense of the fact that we wanted to go out, we wanted to help the residents get their roads fixed and everything else, but then when we dealt out all the money, next year there wasn't any money to go through and do it, and that created a problem. This gives us scalability, so we're looking at twice a year, that in the springtime and in the fall time, there'll be an application deadline, you bring all your stuff in, you bring it to the, to go through the same process, which is through the assessor and the clerk's department, and then ultimately it'll come to the board to make sure that we decide to go out and do the bond project. That'll happen twice a year, and therefore, and that's about a 3 to 6 month lag typically on the funding. We're doing it twice a year as opposed to always our open door, just to minimize make it more efficient so that our costs stay down. With that, I'll open it up to the floor for comments. Yes, sir.
Hello, I think most of you know me by now. My name is Ben Hastings, 5583 Adderstone Drive, Clarkston, Michigan. Last year, I had the pleasure of serving as road project team leader for Spring Lake North, and we had a great outcome with our project. In fact, all 3 projects had a great outcome. All 3 projects last year were under budget or on budget, and ahead of schedule or on schedule. And so tonight, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your help. I did review the red line proposals. I think they're good. I think they allow adequate flexibility, both for the township and for the homeowners. And I think it gives us the opportunity to help a lot of people. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience?
I'd like to thank you for what you did last year. You're leading by example for other townships. I'm here to be educated again tonight. I had the opportunity to get educated by Ben Hastings last year, and I hope it's successful. I hope you pass a policy tonight. Good luck.
Okay. Any other comments? No? Okay. Online, are there any comments? Oh. Waiting, that's not a comment. Okay. Anyone else online have any comments? Okay, I'll close public comments, bring it up to the board. Any questions or comments from the board? Treasurer Brown.
Just a quick question, and try to put this in layman's terms for the folks here and the ones at home. One of the struggles with getting roads repaved, especially public roads, is if the Road Commission of Oakland County is doing it, government is hiring the engineers. And when government does work, it's always more expensive. Some of that extra expense is important because we are the trustees of taxpayer money. We have more I's to dot and T's to cross, and that drives the cost up. There's also some increase just because when people bid on government work, they're gonna bid higher. Our success last year was a result of allowing the people that wanna get the work done, the HOAs, to go out and manage hiring, picking the contractor who would do it and going through that process of engineering with help from the road commission. And so when that happens, it drives the cost down. Now we're looking at an even better opportunity because what's being presented here, if we go out for bonding, it's gonna reduce the interest rate by probably 30%. Because we're gonna go from 6% down to something in the 3s. That's gonna have another dramatic impact of the annual cost. So the cost to do the projects are significantly less than the road commission. If it's handled well by HOAs like these folks did last year, now the interest on it's gonna go down. In fact, I would expect the interest is gonna be low enough through this bonding process that people won't pay them off. At 6%, people were paying them off fast. At the lower level, they're not going to, and it's fine because it's gonna be bonded. So I think, I read through this, I really didn't have any comments on the actual structure of it, but I wanted people to understand the opportunity a little bit more at that base level. That's it.
Mr. Cutter?
Thank you. Again, credit to Ben Hastings for the leadership he showed and professionalism and representing his community and getting the job done under the old SAD program. But again, with a finite number of dollars, it was incumbent upon the board to try and find something that worked for more people. And and thanks in large part to a lot of the residents here in the audience tonight. I see Jim back there and some others attending coffee and conversations, nudging us like, hey, you guys gotta get this going here. We've got some serious problems. And so I'm really happy that this was one of the few things that did not raise my blood pressure from the hospital bed. But I was really excited to come back and support this.
Questions, comments down here?
I just piggyback on, say this is a great program. One of the things that I would like to ask Ben, if he would like to come back up, just real quick for the sake of the residents that might be considering doing this. What was the learning curve on figuring out everything that you needed to do based on the, I see your eyebrows go up, so. Based on because I look at this and I consider, there's a lot of course, legal language in here, but there's really not a how-to guide on how to do it. Mm-hmm. So if a resident wants to come in and actually do this. So what was the learning curve like, figuring out the petitions and all the things that you had to do? If you could explain that.
Well, for me, it really started with education. Educating myself. I believe it was you and Paul that had suggested to take a look at Public Act 188 of 1954. Read that about 100 times. Got myself educated, yeah. So that's where it started, but I'll be honest that we leaned pretty heavily on township staff, honestly, first and foremost. Both from assessing, that was the bulk of it, from the clerk's office, from the treasurer's office, from the supervisor's office. They were very helpful along the way. And then the other thing that was helpful was actually working with the other subdivisions. We weren't 3 islands. We actually worked collectively together. What problems are you running up against? How can I help you? And that was very important to the outcome as well. There were a lot of people in the community outside the residents that were actually very helpful. Sometimes as simple as our bus driver, who took it upon himself to become the liaison during construction between the entire school district and his route and multiple other routes. There was help from garbage companies, local businesses. There was help from people that didn't even live in the subdivision, everybody volunteering. We had staff at the township that actually worked holidays, weekends, nights. Nobody asked them to. It wasn't expected. But it truly was a true community project in the sense of the word. And yes, it benefited our subdivisions, but it really truly benefits everybody in the community.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So I would just like to say, like, we need a how-to guide for the residents, and maybe that's something that I know I've had discussions with you. I mean, Ben lives in my neighborhood. We've worked together on a lot of these things. This was before I was a trustee too, that all got started. So I know Ben is very meticulous with everything that needed to be done, and I'm sure he has record of everything that he did. So
Yeah, I do. And if there's anybody listening tonight, both here in the audience or online, that would like to get in touch with me, they can, to get a homeowner's perspective on the process. If you go to springlakenorth.com, there's a ton of information on the process, and my contact info is there.
Thank you.
And I'd be more than happy to assist the township.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Tom? Okay. Clerk Newbeck.
On, looks like page 2 of the red line, under financing, interest rates, and funding, it refers to the project being funded from the general fund. Are we intending to leave that in there?
Well, you gotta remember that we are the creditors, and it's our loan. So we're bringing the money in and then we're distributing it back out. So it is probably the right place to put it.
Okay.
Right, because we can't just operate as a collection for a vendor. That was my first go-round.
I just wondered if it should reference bonding, since that's,
We can,
Well, yeah. I mean, this is a general policy, so it adds in this bonding option, but it also allows for the township board to also approve a SAD as we have for the last 50 years, which is through a general fund SAD, if there was the money, and I know that there is no money. So the language should be for both maintained in the policy.
so again, yes, and that was a much better answer than I gave you. That we were just amending the existing policy, and the existing policy does have that language. So at the point in time, if we get enough money repaid, we may revisit that as an option.
so although it's not indicated that under the financing, that's fine. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
There's no indication of bonding.
I'm gonna leave it up to the attorney who put this together.
Well, I'm not, you said page 2, I mean, there's reference
Well, it's
to
actually
financing.
It's page 131 of the packet, if that helps, I'm sorry.
Okay.
What is that, Heather?
I mean, there's definitely.
Financing, interest rates, and funding. When the township intends to fund the project from the general fund, special assessments can be paid to the township in full by individual party
Yeah.
for a limited amount of time. Failure to make payments will result blah, blah, blah. Interest over a time of years is established by board resolution. If the owner within the SAD does not pay over the time, they can make annual installments over a term generally not to exceed 10 years.
Yeah, so I think the qualifier is that first phrase, when we're going to do, as we've done in the past, basically finance it through the general fund, this is the process. The following paragraphs now talk about bonding as well as even other options, which is third-party lending by HOAs or property owners. So it's all incorporated there. There's really 3 different options for the financing. The township's general fund, which as we now know, does not have the money to provide it, bonding, or third-party financing, if that makes sense. Okay?
So it's essentially just an option.
It's just an option, yeah.
That we
And
don't-
as I read that
Got it.
paragraph that you're referring to, the first phrase says, when we're going to do it through the township's general fund, this is how we're going to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Okay, this one requires a 2/3 vote, so that means 5 out of 7 in order to approve it. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the amendments to the Charter Township of Independence Paving Special Assessment District SAD policies and procedures as presented, superseding all previous versions, and authorize the township supervisor and the township clerk to execute any documents and take any administrative actions necessary to implement the revised policies.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Hayward?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Nalmathu?
Yes.
Trustee Tedder?
Yes.
Supervisor File?
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, yes, and Treasurer Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Awesome. Okay. At this point, we go to closed session, budget session, study session. There aren't any right now. The next thing is communication, future agenda, and items report under N. For reports, we have an amendment to the Board of Trustees special rules. Under report, we have building activities, Independence Township, City of the Village of Clarkston. We have a report for the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. We have minutes for the Elections Commission for October 7th, 2025, and June 23rd, 2026. We have minutes from the Open Space Advisory Committee for June 8th, 2026. At this point in time, I'd like to bring back and ask if any board members have any comments.
I do. I just want to let everybody know that I did get a chance. I did get up and leave. It was to apologize to that woman. I was going to do it publicly, to ask for it in the beginning of the meeting. We had a nice conversation, explained what had happened, apologized to her. She accepted it, but I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Great. Any other comments? Trustee Hayward.
Paul, can I refinance my SAD? Because I want a lower interest rate.
That's directed by the supervisor's office?
I'll be sure to call in the morning.
That's a hard no.
Maybe. That's an interesting one.
No, I like to just thank everybody who was able to stick through. I know that for a lot of people, we're here for this particular, our last item on the, what? I know sign language, that means
No,
crazy.
that wasn't that. That
That's
was,
okay.
That was wheels rolling
Okay.
is what that meant.
I'm thinking
That's
about how
okay.
we can get all the money back now, because we probably could go through and redo it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, see?
Doesn't
Made a
hurt to
joke,
ask.
and anyway, but I do appreciate everybody that stayed. I know that was the last agenda item. For a lot of people, it was very important to hear what was gonna happen and what was going on with that. So just thank you for sticking around for that.
Anyone else? Clerk Dubek?
Go ahead, Clerk.
In the spirit of, back with the cancellation of the meeting and the town hall meeting that was had by some of the trustees last week, I believe, I'm thinking about it this week, and I will be bringing something next week to propose to the board. Maybe not so much in light of the Board of Trustees special rules amendment that I know that you're bringing, but I think that we can bring another aspect by way of a work session that we could maybe have once a month or something like that. Other communities that I've worked in before have had work sessions, and it's more informal before like a heavy board meeting, if we were to have it like in the middle of a month. And I just think it'd be something that, being less formal, it would open it up maybe for some more back and forth dialogue with the residents, and it might serve dual purpose. So be working on that and plan to bring it back next meeting after the election.
So I would definitely support, sorry, do you want to go ahead? I don't know if you want to comment. I would definitely support that, because I think there's a lot of times, a lot of frustration from the members in the audience because we can't respond and we don't have the ability to answer some of your questions and all that, so I think it would be a great thing.
All right, thank you. Got a few things here. Again, in the spirit of transparency, and following the process, next meeting will be proposed amending the special rules. It's Article 8, Section 8, Paragraph 4, the Board of Trustees Special Rules. I noted that in the attachment, at least when I pulled it up, the red line wasn't there. It's very simple. It's striking insufficient business as a reason for canceling meetings. I'm not going to get into it tonight. I'll share my rationale and solicit support for the board on that. So again, if you don't see the red line, that's what I'm seeking to strike, and that's under the future agenda items. At our trustee Q&A, again, thanks to all the residents that came. It was very productive. It was a really nice, almost a 3-hour exchange Q&A back and forth, very productive. Gentleman that was here earlier spoke of the flock cameras, and I didn't know, but I think Trustee Hayward knew that those contracts expire in August. And I expect it to be a pretty spirited conversation. We'll have spirited input by our residents. I would like to get a copy, a requested distribution for all of the board members to look at the existing contract, because you read a lot on the internet, I'm getting emails. I'd like to know what is de facto, what's in our contract. So we have time, not 3 days, but we have a month, 3 weeks, whatever it might be, between when that contract comes up. And so, is that something we can get a hands on?
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
yeah, I think it'd be helpful for all 7 of us to have that. Let's see, look forward to working with Trustee Nalamothu and perhaps one other board member to come up with the rules of decorum. I even think my company, we have a very strong policy on rules, ethics, and compliance, and we even have an anonymous hotline you can call if you feel like, and you don't feel like you have, as an employee, I'm speaking to the employees, if you feel that you don't have someone to go to, because it's very difficult sometimes within an organization. You might feel that you don't have anyone that you can go to because you feel like you're working under a hostile environment or you've been treated in a hostile way. So perhaps we can incorporate a toll-free number or something like that. So I look forward to more conversations on that. And lastly, having our next coffee and conversation Saturday, August 22nd. Again, kind of a informal, bring your issues, questions. Trustee Hayward and I already got the coffee. We're donating a coffee pot to the Carriage House. That seems to be the place where we can have a quiet conversation on a Saturday morning. So that'll be 8:30, August 22nd, at the Carriage House. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Newbeck?
I just wanted to comment that your red line is there.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, it's on page 149 of the packet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Didn't see it.
Bringing up the decorum rules or whatever we're gonna talk about, I do recall, and I don't know if it was this board or prior, we all did sign some kind of ethics things, and maybe those should be redistributed for people to read through.
Yeah, that was this board.
Okay. I thought every new one has to re-sign it, but maybe some people should revisit and read that again.
Or maybe I'm wrong, because she's got, came up to the podium.
I just want to
Quick.
let everybody know, Dave McKee, Matt, we've all been working during this meeting. There is a water main break at in Pelton Heights. So our DPW guys are out there right now. They investigated, they're working on it. There's a boil water alert. I don't know if anybody here lives in there, but if you have low pressure or whatever. It is out on our Facebook. It is out on our alert on our website, and they will continue updating me throughout the night, and I will keep, posting updates as they send.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing is, I would like to also share with the board that on Friday at 9:30 at the police substation and Tuesday at 6 at the substation, Fire Chief and Substation Commander Buckman and I will be discussing, giving the opportunity for residents. I've seen a bunch of questions come up to the board, the counter about the millage and the police millage and how would that be impacted, what's that? So it's just a strictly Q&A as it relates to that item, and it's gonna just safety, so it's the 3 of us there. I just wanted to let the board know that that was gonna go on, and it is intended strictly to deal with the millage more than anything else. Okay. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.